Oh, yeah, that didn't even make sense. It's gone from the headlines. How the levels look. That's good.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Smith Radio, along with your host, Brian Smith, and
Carrie Smith.
Giving you all the late-breaking details of last week, wrapping it up, making sense of it, hopefully giving you a lot of information so that when you get back to work on Monday, tomorrow, the 23rd would be tomorrow. So today's November 22nd. Happy pre-Thanksgiving. So when you get back to work tomorrow, you'll know exactly what you're talking about. You'll be well-informed. Breaking details on Friday, Saturday, Sunday that the media never covers.
They can't.
No, and the White House loves to slip it in.
Well, I don't know if we have any slippage this week, but it's a jam-packed week.
We can find some slippage.
We're going to have to do a lightning round for 3 solid hours in order to fit all the news in of this week.
Wow.
So, you ready for lightning round?
It's starting right now.
Ready. Okay.
Aim.
So let's just go over this is what's been in the news this week. Obviously, there's all these things that happen all week, and this is why there's so much news. You know, you got a series of things that normally are things that make the news for the year. We jam them all in one week, and we have it on during primary season, which means all of the candidates for president have to react to them, and the media will pick up the reactions and react to their reactions. And then other media outlets will be outraged at the reaction of the media, and so then talk about the media's reaction to the candidates' reactions to all the events of the week, which happen to be very big events. I mean, these are the kind of events that are going to make history books, you know? Like 50
absolutely.
years from now, little kids in high school are going to be reading about this kind of stuff that happened back in 2015 or whatever. Right. Especially since it is kind of what I would consider a landmark event for the coming World War III. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, you and I both agree on this show that has already begun.
Right.
That is currently underway. And we have, I'm trying to find the appropriate word for who and what Obama is. Like, what would the word for him that we could say here on Smith Radio, family edited show, that would describe him?
Oh, I got one. Muslim. We can say that.
Muslim.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, dictator, communist.
We know he's a communist.
Not probably. He is the most dangerous man in America right now.
In America, probably, yeah. I mean, he enables the kind of things that allow the Muslims to do jihad against America.
Right.
For the most part. So, we had the big Paris terrorist attacks last week, which we talked about. It was so fresh. What was it, 2 days old?
Oh, boy.
Like a day and a half old when
Right.
we reported it. So it was real fresh, and then of course this week we if
you stay listening to Smith Radio, you will have been in front of all the media
who then reacted to it all week. Yeah,
right.
They're the ones who reported it on all week after we aired last Sunday. But the one big, I guess, the breaking news this week from Paris would be that they attacked some apartment. And they were reporting that that the people that were under siege by the cops and ultimately killed were the masterminds behind the Paris attack.
Right.
So I still don't know. I know there was a report of there was an 8th attacker that was at large. A manhunt, massive worldwide manhunt, whatever.
No, and we said something about the 8th man.
Yeah.
I had reports that claimed he was dead, but after the show, there were more reports that said that he was still on foot.
On foot. Chasing him with helicopters.
He was looking for his who's that evil villain against Danger Mouse?
Danger Mouse. My goodness.
I showed the girls that cartoon the other day.
Yeah.
It's like a green frog guy, and he always gets away at the last. Oh, curse you, Danger Mouse!
He always gets away.
I'll get you again, and he flies off on his rocket car thing.
Okay.
So that's what he was looking for. He was running the streets looking for his rocket car ride. Couldn't find it.
Wow, I was a tiny little kid when Danger Mouse was around. I didn't even remember. Wow, that is crazy. So anyway.
Sorry about that little side note there, folks.
We get off on a tangent.
We're also going to talk about Trump and all the breaking polls that he's breaking, if you will. I know a lot of people that I work with, and a lot of people I see throughout the week. It's mixed feelings. About half and half. Half get all upset and angry at him, and half say, bring it. And they're very one-sided. I have not run into anybody that has mixed feelings about Trump in the sense that, well, I guess if
whoa, we have a cough break here.
So I was trying to do my awesome sauce voice.
Your awesome sauce voice. Okay.
Got choked up on that one.
Okay. All right.
But no, I don't run into any.
You got choked up on awesome sauce?
Oh, I slipped on it one time.
You slipped on awesome sauce. Okay. Baron Greenback.
There it is.
Is
Baron
the name
Greenback.
of the villain, the supervillain of Danger Mouse. I would have never known that. I had to flat out look it up because
let me tell you,
I was
folks,
like 7 the last time I saw Danger Mouse.
Let me tell you, if you ever want to watch a good old, I mean, it's one of the,
British. It's a British cartoon,
right? But it's one of those cartoons that is like a Cold War cartoon.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't
Danger
know.
Mouse has one eye patch on, and he's kind of bad. It's kind of like the whole Inspector Gadget thing with his daughter Penny.
They said there was
and the dog.
Right.
The dog and Penny always catch the bad guy for her uncle, Inspector Gadget.
And he was a bumbling idiot.
Well, Danger Mouse isn't a bumbling idiot. However, he is a Brit who is full of himself.
And he does have a sidekick too.
Right. Well, his eye patch is, in my mind, is a metaphor for he can only see half what's real.
Oh, I gotcha.
And so the sidekick, who's it's like a little
hedgehog. Or
yeah,
something?
like a little hedgehog.
Oh, he's a hamster.
A nerd.
His name is Ernest Penfold.
Yeah, Penfold.
Oh boy, that is so British.
Yeah. But Penfold is a nerd, and he always says that, well, Danger Mouse, you think this is what they're trying to do, really? And Danger Mouse didn't listen to me, running. And then he stops and says, you know what? I know what they're trying to do. And he repeats what Penfold just said. So, right.
They're calling him a reluctant assistant. That's what they, okay.
So
how does this
soaring polls in the news?
Are you talking about Trump's polls?
Trump's polls, and then
do you have the
talk about Hillary's poll numbers?
Well, the big news with Trump this week, really big news, is that, and I don't know if you have the sound bites for it.
I do.
Okay, good.
Well, I've got a minute and a half clip of Rush explaining what's going on.
Do we have to have him explain it?
No, but it's really good because he just he blasts the media, and
he's mad.
He lays it out.
He was mad.
Yeah.
I heard that episode, and yes, he's mad. But and rightfully so. Basically, what happened to Trump this week was that some pipsqueak little know-nothing, nobody reporter or quasi-reporter, some guy with a recorder acting like a journalist, running up and asking questions to Trump.
I think it was a girl. Was it?
I didn't see any video of this. No, it was a man.
It was a man?
Or at least, well, it could have been a woman with a really
hey,
manly voice.
Whoa. I think here
She
on Smith
smokes
Radio,
a couple of cigars every minute.
We need to get with the times, okay? It's not man or woman. It's just human.
Human.
Being. It's
Okay.
just a human.
Well,
I don't want to infect.
You're not allowed to use the word woman anymore because it has the letters MAN in it.
Oh. I told my daughters, I said, you know why they call it woman? And they're like, no, why, Dad? I said, because guys are always screaming, whoa, man, stop. You're talking too much.
Oh,
You're
wow.
coming at me too much.
You told your daughters that?
Whoa, wife, slow down.
Oh, man. Oh, there are going to be some letters and emails on that one.
I tell you what, I laughed pretty well. The girls just kind of raised an eyebrow.
They were like, huh? What?
Yeah.
So anyway, actually, the feminazis are calling for people to call them woe people instead of woe man.
They're such idiots, aren't
woe
they? Woe
people. So we got to call them woe people from now on.
Whoa. That would be stupid.
So anyway.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Yeah, so what happened, I guess we'll get right into it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this Pipsqueak reporter, and I didn't see the video, but it sounds like Trump was at some sort of event where he was maybe signing autographs or shaking hands.
Yeah, he was.
It was loud. There was a lot of, you could tell there was a lot of people. The background noise is just a lot of people talking. It sounded like a big crowded room, and it was hard to even hear in the audio what the reporter was asking, and you can clearly tell that Trump was distracted while he was being asked these questions. But he tried to answer as best he could, and, you'll hear it in the audio. You got it coming up here? You got it queued or anything?
Oh, yeah.
Or you get it queued up. But basically, he didn't answer the question as reported. The reports of this was that Trump is calling for databases for like a government database to track all Muslims in America.
All right.
And so,
go
ahead.
Okay. Here's Rush on that.
I don't know if you have seen it yet today. There are stories all over the drive-by media, the Associated Press, Yahoo News. I mean, it's everywhere. That Donald Trump supposedly is calling for the registration of all Muslims in America. Trump is demanding that they all be registered and that a massive database be corrected. And CNN is all over reporting this. Even the Wall Street Journal has picked up on it. There's a problem, though. Trump didn't say it. Now, I'm going to tell you what happened.
I just love
At a
listening to
recent
Rush.
public appearance, Trump's coming off the stage. The usual one of his 1 hour to 90-minute appearances. He's probably worn out and spent, and there's the usual crowd of autograph seekers and supporters and fans. And amongst them is a drive-by media reporter who says to Trump, should there be a database system who tracks the Muslims that are in this country? Trump says there should be a lot of systems beyond databases. We should have a lot of systems, and today you can do it. But right now, we have to have a border.
Amen.
We have to have strength. We have to have a wall, and we cannot let what's happening to this country happen again. Reporter, is that something your White House would like to implement? There's no specificity there. The question is just, is that something your White House would like to implement? Trump has given a multifaceted answer. She says, is that something?
He said she?
Without specifying
Yeah.
what she's asking about. Trump said, I would certainly implement that. Absolutely. And that's how they report that Trump demands a database and registration for all Muslims, when he didn't say it. He never said it.
He didn't come up with that idea at all.
Apparently, the reporter did.
So basically, the reporters, and I'll just speak generally here. You heard that example, but in general, what they'll do is they'll figure out what it is that's going to appall the public, and then try to get put those words into their mouth or get them to not oppose it directly, and then they report it as that they said that it was their idea.
Right.
Which is exactly what happened with Trump here. And the thing is this stuff is just not working anymore. In fact, in other parts of Rush's show, he points out that this is journalism 101.
Right.
Drive-by journalism 101 anyway. I mean, I wouldn't journalism, the word I have respect for. And so I like to think of journalism in the way that you would hope it is, which is informing the public of the truth, the facts, what happened. And this is clearly the opposite of that, which is trying to get you to believe that something happened that didn't happen.
Right.
So I hate to use the word journalism when describing what this guy attempted to do. And when I say attempted, what I mean is stuff's not going to work anymore.
Well, and I wouldn't be surprised at all, not even close, if the GOP had actually planted this.
Ooh, wow.
We got some.
I'm not ready for the tinfoil hat yet, but
No. We got some very, very valid information this week on the show about the GOP coming out with the long knives.
Oh boy! So what is it?
Georgie Puddin' Pie Stephanopoulos.
Oh yeah. Well, he's
Snuffleupagus.
Yeah, Snuffleupagus. George Snuffleupagus. Yeah.
Oh well. Actually, Trump was on his show today, and on ABC's Georgie, and so Trump was on the show by phone. So he was talking to him.
Of course he is. He's always my phone.
He's like, I can't.
He's the only one that can get away with that.
Right. He's like, I can't get it. I gotta talk to you. I gotta talk to you. I can't be there. So, what do you want, man? So he's there.
Awesome.
So I've got this clip of him and George going back and forth on about 4 or 5 different topics, and there's short little clips. So I'm going to play the first clip that has to do with this, and then we'll comment on where we see the malpractice in this journalism.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because you know how
this will be new to me.
Who's being sent in here? This could be the
Oop,
Syrian refugees are going to start pouring into this country. We don't know if they're ISIS. We don't know if it's a Trojan horse. And I definitely want a database and other checks and balances. We want to go with watch lists. We want to go with databases. And we have no choice. We have no idea who's being sent in here. This could be the great Trojan. It's probably not, but it could be the great Trojan horse of all time.
Wow.
Where they come in. When I look at those migration, and when I look at the migration and the lines, and I see all strong, very powerful-looking men. They're men. And I see very few women. I see very few children. There's something strange going on. And if you look at what's happening in Europe, a lot of bad things are happening in Europe. Just ask the folks that live in Germany, George. A lot of bad things are happening. So
Thank you,
we
Angela
want to be
Merkel.
smart. We want to, hey, George, we want to be vigilant. We have to be vigilant. And we have to call is radical. You know, we have to just say it's radical Islamic terrorism, and that's what it is. And we have a president that won't even issue the term. But when these Syrians come in, or wherever they are, because we're not even sure that they're coming in from Syria, if they're going to come in, we have to be very, very vigilant. And database would be fine for them, and watch list is fine. We have to watch and see what we're doing. They should not come in, by the way. They should not be allowed in.
Okay, now watch how George likes to battle him and twist him on what he means.
He wants him to mean. He wants him to mean what he wants him to mean.
Right. He doesn't want you to think that
that there's anything good about this.
Right. Oh, there it is. Okay.
For the record, though, the statistics do show that the majority of the refugees coming in are women and children. You've also told...
Oh, whoa.
Notice how he immediately... You also said, let me ask you another question. Whoa. No, don't interrupt me. What I said is a statement that will be digested by everybody else. I don't want it to be challenged or anything like that. Let's move on to the next sentence. That's literally what he just did there. Wow. Let me lob this grenade under your seat.
Right.
And then run out of the room.
While you got 3 seconds, and you won't even know that what's going on.
No, I pulled the pin 3 seconds earlier.
Whoa!
I chucked it under your seat and dove out of the room.
See, what blows me away is
oh, that's pun intended, right?
Yeah, absolutely. What blows me away is that Trump entertains the Snuffleupagus.
Oh, he's entertaining how do you go on SNL? It's amazing. Yes. You know what it is? Because now he's just got mind control over all of them. But Snuffleupagus, he's definitely going rogue here. But okay, go ahead.
Yahoo News that we have to be doing things that were unthinkable a year ago. I want to get into what you had in mind. For example, do you think we should bring back enhanced interrogation like waterboarding?
Well, we have to be strong. You know, they don't use waterboarding over there. They use chopping off people's heads.
No,
they use drowning people. I don't know if you've seen with the cages where they put people in cages and they drown them in the ocean and then they lift out the cage. And we're talking about waterboarding.
So you bring back waterboarding?
We have to. I would bring it back. Yes, I would bring it.
Okay, so he won't let it go. I want this on the record, Mr. Trump. On the record. No, that's Greta Van Susteren's show. No, on ABC, my show, that you said to me, waterboarding is good.
And we should bring it back.
Right.
Well, he did. He said it. Not only that. Now, here's the database thing. A lot of Republicans or Trump supporters have been defending Trump before he made any statement that he never called for a database and that it wasn't his idea. Well, in this show, you just heard him say, yes, we do need database. But what he's specifically talking about is important. The refugees coming over.
Right, we need a database on those people coming in.
Right, there are thousands and thousands, and maybe even millions, possibly. I don't know. Probably not. But of American citizens in America who are Muslim.
Oh, yeah.
Who are not going to cause any harm. Who Trump has not said he wants those people in the database. But the Democrats either immediately, automatically, without even thinking about it, assume that that's what he's talking about, or want you to believe that that's what he's talking about. But he's specifically talking about non-American refugees coming over from Syria. They should be in a database. And yes, I 100% for the Constitution. And I don't think it's a contradiction to be for the Constitution and think that there's something wrong with having refugees being tracked.
Well,
they should be.
Breitbart.com.
It should be a condition for coming over here.
Oh, absolutely. Breitbart.com says there's about 6.2 million Muslims in America.
That's probably about right because there's 330 million people in America, roughly.
So they're saying estimating between 5 to 8 million.
Okay. So there's millions of Muslims in America, most of which are probably American citizens.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure.
Right. And
nobody is calling
the peaceful Muslims.
They're radical. Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
So if the norm is murdering Christians and Jews and infidels, if that's the norm,
right,
then a peaceful Muslim is a radical Muslim. So when from now on, if you hear us say radical Muslim, we're actually talking about the peaceful ones, because you have to be extremely radical to be a peaceful Muslim because they're in such a tiny minority.
Not only do you have to be radical to be a peaceful Muslim, but to be a peaceful Muslim in itself, practicing the cult of Islam, wow.
You have to be radical.
You got to be on the fringe.
You have to be like, you know what? I don't care how violent they are or how violent they are taught to be. I'm going to be a Muslim anyway and show you that we don't all have to be violent. I'm going to be the peaceful one. That's radical.
That's pretty radical.
That's radical.
That's really radical.
Yes, there you go.
And when you got liberals and lefties screaming, "Oh, you right-wing radicals clinging to your guns and your Bibles." Okay, so we have guns and Bibles, and according to your definition, that makes us a radical. Okay, what does that make a Muslim who forces his wife into all the cult things, whether it be the circumcision for women, whether it be the head garb head to toe? It was the middle of summer at a water park with my kids and everybody playing in the water, and there was a Muslim man with shorts on and a T-shirt, and his wife dressed, well, I don't know if it was a woman, because that is legal in America.
It could actually be a man.
And it could be his partner in crime to blow up the water park.
Could be.
Dressed in head to toe in black.
Right.
And it was 95 degrees out.
Well, that's why it was at a water park, right? Because it's wearing black, you're so hot. I got to get to the water park.
Right, but they never got in the water. Never. Didn't even get close.
Why were they there?
They stood in the... this person in garb with
the woe person?
The woe person with the screen door across the eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Followed the dude in shorts and a T-shirt while he watched his children play in the water.
Were any of his children female?
Yes.
Were they garbed?
No, because they were younger. They're like our daughter's age, like 6 years old.
Okay.
But there were young teenage girls, long sleeve shirt, long pants, and just a thing on their head. But not black, head to toe.
So the whole head to toe thing
in black
is kind of, it evolves. Like when you're a child, you know, you're just dressed in normal clothes, and that's weird.
Yeah, I wonder if it has to do with.
Well, what if she chose to dress that way?
Well, like I'm sure it has to do with, when a girl becomes a teenage girl, things change and start to happen.
So you think that
then they wear the head garb with that, saying that she's now her body is producing and fertile.
We need to have an interview with a Muslim so that I can ask him this question because this would be, I think, an important thing to know about the religion of Islam. The ones that aren't violent, are they not violent because they don't believe that you should be utilizing violence in the religion? And if that's so, do you actively oppose or at least mentally oppose the ones that are violent? Or are you not violent because you're just either too chicken or just it doesn't suit your personality to act out Islam as it is supposed to be? That's the big question.
Oh, here it is. I got your example.
Oh, you got an example?
Yeah.
I need an answer.
I got your answer.
Okay.
For example, it's like you and I sitting in the lounge chair on Sunday watching football, coaching the team from the lounge chair.
A Monday morning quarterback.
Right. Versus, well, why don't you just go be a quarterback? Oh, Lord.
I'm not good enough for that.
Not only am I not good enough, but the time and I'll tell you what I will do. I will wear your jersey.
Really? That's an interesting analogy.
Copyright. Smith Radio 2015.
So all of
knocking it out of the park.
The quote unquote peaceful. Because let's be honest here. Just because you didn't, I guess, okay, what's the definition of peaceful or being at peace? Does it mean that you just didn't act out a violent act, or does it mean that you actively oppose the violence? Or could it be both? Could you say, well, yeah, he agrees with the violence, he supports it mentally, like he agrees with it, but he doesn't do it? Does that make him peaceful? He doesn't do it himself, but he totally supports it.
Well,
does it make me violent to like violent movies? Do I go to an action film and say, wow, that was a great movie, you're such a violent person? Is that how that happens?
Because you like to watch violence. Being a violent person is acting out and being violent.
So then you're kind of answering my question here.
I'm trying to.
So if it takes acting out to be violent, then the Muslims who are not acting out violence are not practicing a different type of Islam. They're just not acting out the violence.
Right.
But you're saying that they could actually all be practicing the same exact religion. It's just that only a tiny, the majority of them will act out on the call for violence,
right,
by the Quran, by the religion. The other ones have just chosen not to do that. That doesn't mean that they disagree with it.
Correct.
Wow. But I don't know. I need to ask a Muslim who has either, well, if I ask one that has acted out violently, I imagine his answer would be, yes, they all should be acting violent, and the ones that aren't need to get off their butt and start being more violent. But I want to hear from the one that hasn't acted out, because he could say either A, no, I don't agree with that, and I think that they're not practicing the correct type of Islam, or, well, I'm not going to do it, but I'll wear the jersey.
Right.
Did I belabor this point?
No,
Okay.
I'm down with it. I just ran across something quite amazing from Wikipedia.
Which is?
The term hijab or hijab. Hijab in Arabic literally means a screen or curtain.
Oh, okay.
So by us joking that she's got a screen door over her eyes, I guess the joke's on us because she really does have a screen in all intents and purposes.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what it looks like. It looks like a screen.
Right.
It's to prevent you from seeing her eyes, I guess. It's weird because there's so many different ways to dress depending on where you're at in the world. Some of them have the complete covered head to toe with the screen door. Some will just cover all of their hair, and you could see their entire face.
Right.
And so I don't know.
I've seen some of them at soccer practice. Some of the parents coming to soccer practice on the west side of Cincinnati, which blows my mind. West side of Cincinnati is Catholic.
For the most part, yeah.
Where did all of a sudden, I have never seen a large Islamic community in Cincinnati, let alone the west side.
To be fair, when I was growing up, I've never seen, I shouldn't say never, but very, very, very few Mexicans. Very few. Hardly any at all, right? Well, now there's an entire part of town that is completely Spanish-speaking. They have Spanish, Spanish language signs, and just a whole community of Mexican immigrants or wherever. And so there's the evolving times. Right. It's just whatever,
I'm getting the hijab or screen door. It's open to interpretation due to the country you live in with the laws that are handed down.
Okay.
So if you live in America, there is no law stating that you have to wear the hijab. So you may follow the laws of the land that you came from.
Which, that's fine.
Right. So if you come from a very strict, very orthodox.
So the next time you see one, you can stop them and say, hey, FYI, you don't have to wear that.
What?
Yeah, you don't have to. There's no law here that makes you do that.
What?
But how will I hide my bomb?
Oh, wait, whoa. So, back to Georgie Pie.
George Stephanopoulos?
Think waterboarding is peanuts compared to what they do to us, what they're doing to us, what they did to James Foley when they chopped off his head. That's a whole different level, and I would absolutely bring back interrogation and strong interrogation.
You've also said we have to consider closing mosques. Jeb Bush called that a sign of weakness.
Well, Jeb Bush is a weak person, and that's been defined very strongly. I mean, Jeb is a weak person who is I call him a low-energy person. That's what he is. I mean, you call him anything you want. But Jeb is a person that will not solve a problem like this. You have very, very tough people that you're dealing with. They only understand strength. They don't understand weakness. Somebody like Jeb and others that are running against me. And by the way, Hillary is another one. I mean, Hillary is a person who doesn't have the strength or the stamina, in my opinion, to be president. She doesn't have strength or stamina. She's not a strong enough person to be president.
But what would be your criteria for closing a mosque?
We're dealing with very strong people, and you need strength and you need stamina.
I get that, but I want to get the details, though. What would be your criteria for closing a mosque, and how does that square with the First Amendment? You said your top priority would be to preserve and protect our religious liberty. Is that only for Christians? What are your criteria?
He said, is that only for Christians, Trump? First Amendment, is that only for Christians?
He said that?
He just said it, yeah. He said, is that only for Christians?
It is not a First Amendment right to set up a base camp with which to launch an attack against the United States. I don't care what your First Amendment rights are, you are going to get shut down. I think treason trumps the First Amendment in most cases. I mean, there's some cases, like if you say, I hate America, which is very common in the Democrat Party.
Correct.
I hate America, and I wish it would collapse. I wish that's fine because you don't have a credible threat level of launching an attack from what you're doing.
Unless you set up base camp.
Yeah, if you set up a base camp and call it a mosque and recruit soldiers with which to launch an attack using suicide bombs, or like with Chris Cornell from homegrown here in Cincinnati, who didn't know anything about Islam until he walked into a freaking base camp masquerading as a church so that nobody will mess with them. They're using our own First Amendment against us, and I think we need to make a hard line between allowing people to freely express themselves and have the First Amendment and the First Amendment of freedom of religion, and make the distinction between what is a religion and what is an enemy base camp, using the law in the Constitution against treason. I mean, how could it be any more simple than what I just said?
No, that is absolutely it.
Yeah.
To a T. And he goes on to talk about the hot spots in different places. We know where these base camps are. And he goes to talk about what happened in New York.
For closing a mosque.
Well, I don't want to close mosques. I want to surveil mosques. I want mosques surveilled. We were doing it in New York City for a while until the worst mayor that New York City has ever had got elected, de Blasio, which was a fluke. And, well, I would do, certainly there are certain hot spots, and everybody knows they're hot spots. And let me tell you, the people that aren't involved in those mosques, they know who the bad ones are, and they know who the good ones are, but they don't talk. And we have to surveil the mosques. And we were doing it. We were doing it recently until de Blasio closed them up in New York City. We were doing it recently. We have to surveil the mosques. And big material and good material, from what I understood from good source, was coming out of those mosques. We were learning a lot, and they were stopping problems and potential problems by learning of what was happening. Hey, look, I don't want to close up mosques, but things have to happen where you have got to use strong measures, or you're going to see buildings coming down all over New York City and elsewhere.
You've also talked about.
All right.
So a lot of people call that fear mongering or whatever, but let's just be honest here. We need to know whether or not a religious institution, just a church or a mosque or whatever you want to call it, synagogue, or a building that you would say that
you hang your God on the wall in this building.
We need to know if you're using it to get the community to worship a deity or to train them to make attacks on our country.
What about man, I remember hearing this, but nobody really talks about it too much anymore. The IRS was coming after nonprofit organizations for, like if you were a church and you started preaching against, or start talking politically against, and preaching that, Obama is the most deadliest threat in America to Americans today. If you say that and somebody told the IRS, they would come and try and shut you down, take your nonprofit status.
Right. The story I heard was, I'm not a lawyer.
It's from Glenn Beck from back in the day.
Well, I'm not a lawyer or anything like that, but it's my understanding that if you're a priest or preacher or whatever, and you get up and you say, guys, we got certain principles and beliefs here. And if you're going to be a part of this church and be in good standing, you need to vote for Ted Cruz, because you could say anything. You say, well, because he's pro-life,
right,
and he's up against Bernie Sanders, who's a
pro-death.
communist and pro-death.
Right.
So you must, everybody in here, if you do not vote for Ted Cruz, so let's say he's the nominee, or even if he's not yet, then you're not in good standing with this church. That would be grounds, I think, to pull your 501c3 status.
But why?
I agree with you, Brian. Okay. I agree. I 100% agree with you. But
because
there's
the
rules.
parishioners, the people who follow that preacher and listen to that preacher, if you don't like what he's saying, like if he comes out and says, anybody in here, don't raise your hand, but you know who you are. You're a Democrat.
And I have no idea, how there weren't serious calls for and action towards shutting down a church where the preacher gets up and says, "God damn America."
Not God bless. Not God bless.
What is that?
Right. Oh, no, you don't understand, Carrie.
That's political speech, isn't it?
Carrie, you don't understand, Carrie. He meant, you took him out of context,
Oh,
Carrie.
did I?
He meant that God was damning America with global warming.
No, but he said.
No, you don't understand, Carrie.
He
That
didn't
isn't
say
what he meant.
God is damning America.
No, that isn't what he meant.
He said, I am calling for God. That's what he said. I'm taking the words the way he said them.
He was nervous.
Whatever. So anyway.
You want to keep the terror watch list, but under current law, individuals on the terror watch list and the no-fly list have been allowed to buy guns and explosives. Are you okay with that?
Hold on. What kind of question? Did you get the question?
Yes, I'm okay with them buying guns.
Did you get the question? Okay, we got bad people on terrorist watch lists. Are you okay with them buying weapons, like guns?
So he's trying to set him up to say that so that he can report that Donald Trump is for gun control.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yes, of course he is. He's doing
Big
what
headlines. Giant, bold, huge black print across the top of the newspaper. Trump is an advocate for gun control.
Wow. Well, you know he's not playing their game.
You know what they're going to do? They're going to send a reporter out to the highest ranking NRA member.
Oh, yeah.
And say, what do you think about Trump's call for gun control? And, of course, they're going to say, oh, I think that's terrible. And then the big headline, NRA distances themselves from Trump.
Because of his gun control stance.
This is how it happens.
Right. And we're seeing it unfold. But
Oh,
here's how... See, a normal politician might slip on the awesome sauce that was thrown at him.
Right.
But Trump does what Trump does. And this is what he said.
Have to have a watch list, and if that watch list has somebody that's, we have the laws right now. We have the laws already on the books as far as Second Amendment and guns. And as you know, I'm a really big proponent of the Second Amendment. I'll give you an example. If in Paris, of those people, if you had some of those people had guns, you wouldn't have had the horror show that you had.
But why should someone on the watch list be able to have a gun?
No. If people are on a watch list or people are sick, this is already covered in the legislation that we already have, George. It's already fully covered.
No, but under current law, people on the watch list are allowed to buy guns.
Listen, George, if we have an enemy of state, I don't want to give him anything. I want to have him in jail. That's what I want. I want to have him in jail. But if those people in Paris had guns in that room, it would have been a shootout, and very few people would have been hurt by comparison to the number that were hurt.
But yes or
I'll tell you who would have been hurt. The bad guys would have, because they were the only ones that had the guns.
Mr. Yes or no, should someone on the terror watch list be allowed to buy a gun?
A terror watch list?
If somebody is on a watch list and an enemy of state, and we know it's an enemy of state, I would keep them away. Absolutely.
He said I would keep him away. Notice how he made sure he didn't use the words, I would not allow him to buy a weapon. Because if he uses those words, they're going to use that as a soundbite.
They're twisting it.
Oh, yeah. So that's very, very politically savvy of him to word it like that. So now you can't use his own words against him. That's very, very savvy. But here's my argument. I'm not saying that I support this, but it does say, and our founders, they thought through all the words in the Bill of Rights very carefully. And it says, Congress shall make no law prohibiting the right to bear arms. And the Supremacy Clause prohibits any state from violating the federal Constitution.
Right.
So, therefore, terrorists in America would be able to walk into a gun shop and buy a gun. Unless the gun owner or the gun shop owner says, you know what, I don't want to sell you a gun. He's certainly allowed to do that. There is no law. There is no constitutional right that a gun owner, whether it be a gun shop or just anybody that owns a gun, has to sell you the gun.
No, of course
not. So there could be that. But then here's my argument, that a Muslim or a terror, like somebody on the terror watch list,
Right.
should be allowed to purchase arms himself. My argument is it will always be people, the terror watch list, that are so vastly outnumbered that if they did try to use that weapon to launch an attack against America in this theoretical world that I'm describing, where maybe half the people are armed, they're not going to get very far, and they'll know it. They'll know that they're just not going to get very far. They're going to maybe be able to kill a couple people before they're gunned down and it's over.
Well, and you've seen, you had those, the Boston Marathon bombers, the brothers.
Yeah.
They were refugees.
Right.
And they got a hold of a pressure cooker.
Yeah, at the end of the day, bear arms. I guess a bomb is an arm.
Sure, but
just like knives, and also.
But we can't. We can't stop everybody every time from everything at all. You can't.
You just have to be. You have to allow the citizenry to take them out if it looks like they're.
Now there you go. You are expecting the citizens. You're expecting the government to trust the citizens to do the right thing, Gary.
Oh, no. That's dangerous. And then they're not properly trained, so stray bullets will kill
by the way,
children.
Oh, by the way.
What about the children?
I've got sound bites of Knucklehead Bill Maher talking about this. This is what this show's pretty much going to be about. It's going to be about freedom and guns.
Right.
And religion. And the love of country.
But here's the thing. If we're really that worried about gun ownership, the right to bear arms, and gun safety because of the fact that people, like, for instance, I had a buddy, we were out shooting, and we were using the AR-15, which has you could kill somebody from a mile away with a stray bullet.
Right.
Well, right before we left, he decided to hold the gun up at a 45-degree angle and just unload like 15 rounds.
No!
And I was like, no! And didn't hear any reports of anybody getting shot, so I guess all those bullets landed safely.
How long ago was that?
Probably about 20 years ago.
Okay, so
no, not 20, probably 15 years.
Statute of limitations probably.
Oh, he's dead. Wow. He died of a heroin overdose.
Was that old boy?
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. So
well,
anyway.
No wonder he shot it in the air. He's a moron.
Oh, yeah, he's a moron.
And he's dead in his 30s of heroin.
Yeah.
Was he 30s? Yeah.
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Early 30s. So anyway, getting back to it.
Sorry.
I think that there's things that should be taught at a very young age. Why don't we have a Department of Education that requires every single child to be trained in proper use of arms?
This will blow your mind. In Oklahoma, we have a family member.
Oh, okay.
And that she had attended high school or school in Oklahoma, and she was on the gun shooting.
Oh, like riflery?
Team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
The rifle.
Which is
she
funny.
was on the team.
Look how anti right to bear arms the world is, in particular, like Europe and all those kind of. And riflery is an event in the Olympics.
No.
How do they even train?
Well, hey, you don't understand those Olympics that shoot those rifles. They practice with practice bullets.
Plastic bullets.
Plastic bullets.
It's spring loaded.
They're not really bullets. They're not like lead bullets. They're plastic.
They're
bullets.
plastic, and instead of gunpowder, they use a big spring that you have to cock back, and then it shoots, and the spring comes out and forces the plastic bullet out.
And it's a special.
You could buy them at Toys R Us.
It's a special plastic bullet.
This hour sponsored by Toys R Us. Wow. Okay.
So yeah, the Second Amendment. I was just thinking about this. How you were saying before. It says, "Shall not be infringed."
Okay.
Shall not be infringed.
Which means that psychos. And here's the thing. I can't keep a crazy person who is free to go out to a gun store and say, give me all your guns or whatever. I have the money. I'm going to purchase them. So
he could break in there and steal them all.
No, I mean, that's different. That's now you're breaking a law. I'm saying legally.
Okay.
Go in there
he
and
didn't
buy
even have
weapons.
he didn't even have to go to the store. He might hear me talking about it, or I might post an ad up saying I got some guns for sale.
Right. And then he goes.
He could come over to me. I have there's nothing that requires me to vet carry out before I carry a gun.
But here's where we're coming from. While I support the right of a crazy person to purchase a gun at a gun store or from anybody else who's willing to sell their gun, I'm also for bringing back the insane asylums and locking people up.
No,
which
not
would
lying.
prevent
Yeah.
a psycho from purchasing a gun because he's going to be in the custody of people who are caring for crazy people.
In California, you are not allowed to show up with a person and say, I need to admit this person is crazy unless they agree to be committed.
That's tough.
In California, that law was flipped around, and they blame Reagan for allowing all these crazies to go loose. Well, the left scream that. The left that live in California scream that.
That's a big lie because
it is.
insane asylums were really popular in like the 50s and before. You know, if you had a crazy family member, you went and you got them committed. And you see the images of the straitjackets, and then there was the lobotomies and also the shock treatment. And that stuff was used as propaganda to get them all closed down.
Well, yeah, and if you ever want to see that propaganda film footage, turn on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
But there you go. And that was made by leftists, which is a fiction. This is not... Right. So yeah, I think we need to bring back the... what do you got here?
Well, I think we have a caller, but I'm not sure if she meant to call in.
We'll answer it.
All right. You are on... Well... There we go. You are on Smith Radio. Welcome to Smith Radio. Is this Barbara Miller? Hello. Oh, hello.
Really
I got to turn it up there. So have you been listening to the show? Do you know what we're talking about? What do you think about gun control?
Am I on the air right now?
You are on live on Smith Radio talking to Brian Smith and Carrie Smith.
Well, I just want to say this about that is I got a gun permit, and I'm not really interested in having a gun, but I bought one because it's my right. I don't want that right taken away.
Have you been committed to an insane asylum at any point?
Have I been where?
Committed.
To the insane asylum?
Well, we're just trying to keep guns out of the hands of crazy people. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just saying.
So we have to vet you out first by asking you, have you in the past or in the future possibly be committing yourself to an insane asylum?
Oh, possibly.
Oh, wow.
Whoa!
You're not supposed to say that.
I've raised 4 children, and it's kind of, it wears out.
So your children drove you crazy is what you're saying.
Yeah, this really isn't on the air, is it?
Yes, you're live. It's
my
5:53 Eastern Standard Time, and that's Smith Radio time.
Oh, because I listen to you all so much, I never thought I'd get through.
Oh, wow. Well, that's interesting you say
Thanks
that.
for holding all that time.
For 53 minutes.
Awesome.
All righty.
Well, I think you guys are just great. You sound really sexy.
Wow!
Hey, this is a family show. Well, Barbara, let me ask you, have you been trained on using the gun?
Actually, a group of nurses at the hospital where I work...
The insane asylum?
...getting together at the insane asylum, you little brat. and we're it's going to cost each of us $50 because we're going as a group.
Okay.
And we're bringing our own guns. But if you don't have a gun, you can rent one there.
Okay.
And we're going to do that. I was going to go by myself, but it's $150. But it's an all-day thing. But I think it'd be more fun.
Well, good. So did you get your...
Some of them have new guns. One gal has a pink one, and one has a blue one.
Oh, yeah.
So cute.
Yeah, they make them in all different styles and colors. So did you get your concealed carry license to be able to carry your gun in a purse or underneath your shirt or something?
I have a lifetime permit.
Oh, wow. So was that hard to get?
Yeah, it cost me $100, down at the police station, and they mailed it to me, and it took about a little less than a month, but I've had it now for about 3 years.
So did you have to take a class? Did you have to take a class for that? You know, and you are calling from, as your area code says, the state of Indiana. In the state of Ohio, you have to take a 10-hour class, and then you have to make an appointment with a police department to then go to like an interview.
Oh no!
Yes.
You see where that's going?
Oh, I do.
That's going?
Absolutely, I do. Now, did you get fingerprinted?
No.
In the state of Ohio, it's mandatory to be fingerprinted with the electronic.
Well, maybe they're trying to make sure that you're not a felon.
Well, no, your prints are on file. Your prints are now on file.
If you're a felon, you're not going to go through all that anyway. You're going to get guns illegally.
Very good point. Very, very good point.
Speaking Second Amendment
you
stuff,
Buckeyes.
Right?
I tell you Buckeyes.
I know. Well, I only know this because of a family member, a close family member of ours, that just received his CCW license, and he said that he had to call a relative, somebody else that was connected to the police department, to get the appointment.
Oh my goodness!
He said he was waiting for weeks and weeks and weeks trying to get that appointment with the police department. It just wasn't working out.
This guy isn't a grandfather, is he? That lives? Oh no, he lives in Indiana. Okay, yeah. I think it out loud.
I have no idea.
No, it's Anyway,
I got to get back on my medication.
Oh my goodness! Oh.
Keep it locked and loaded at all times, Mama. Well, I thank you. I thank you for calling in. I really appreciate the call and the vote for Indiana. Seems like if you want to get a fairly quick and it seems fairly inexpensive CCW, you go to Indiana.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, it's been fun talking to you all too, and I'm scratching my head because I can't believe I'm on the air.
Well, most people say that.
Everybody's
I could
listening.
sing a song.
Oh, anyway, woo, look at the time.
We are double parked. Well, thank you for calling, Barbara.
Okay.
You have a good night. Bye-bye.
Wow.
I can sing would that be like one of those dance numbers, those dance routines? Like
I don't know.
Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire?
Probably.
Google that one, you millennials. Ginger Roger and Fred Astaire.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, let's wrap up this thing. I've got to wrap up this thing. There's a couple of very, very critical points that Trump makes with Snuffleupagus that just moves on from gun control, and then he tops on. Apparently this week he's at a rally. Trump was talking about 9/11, and Stephanopoulos didn't like what he said.
You know, you raised some eyebrows yesterday with comments you made at your latest rally. I want to show them relating to 9/11.
Hey, I watched when the World Trade Center came tumbling down.
That's emotional.
And I watched in Jersey City, New Jersey. Thousands and thousands of people were cheering as that building was coming down. Thousands of people were cheering.
You know, the police say that didn't happen, and all those rumors have been on the internet for some time. So did you misspeak
It did
yesterday?
happen. I saw it. It was
you
on
saw
television.
that with your own eyes?
George, it
Police
did
say it
happen.
didn't
There were
happen.
people that were cheering in the other side of New Jersey where you have large Arab populations. They were cheering as the World Trade Center came down. I know it might be not politically correct for you to talk about it, but there were people cheering as that building came down, as those buildings came down. And that tells you something. It was well covered at the time, George. Now, I know they don't like to talk about it, but it was well covered at the time. There were people over in New Jersey that were watching it, a heavy Arab population that were cheering as the buildings came down. Not good.
As I said, the police have said it didn't happen. But I want to move on right now. Of course,
How would the police know? How would the police?
Carrie, you don't understand local law enforcement. They know everything.
They're everywhere.
Everywhere at all times.
They're everywhere at all times. They outnumber the regular population.
Just like Elvis.
This is ridiculous. He expects us to be that stupid to think that, well, because the police say it didn't happen, then it could not have possibly happened. And if you say it did, you must be lying. Even if you saw it, the police didn't see it, and so that way we know that it didn't happen.
Well, there was. I was involved in an incident where there were no police anywhere on the freeway when the incident happened. However, that cop claimed he knew what happened as he wrote the police report.
And if he were to tell George Snuffleupagus that it didn't happen, or that he knows what happened because of what he said or what he wrote down in the police report,
right?
that is the fact of the matter, which is not. It's ridiculous. You have to just do a little thought experiment, use a little critical thinking and your own logic, real world experience, and you have to be like, well, okay, this cannot be the case.
Right.
You can't sit there and say, well, we know it didn't happen because the police told us it didn't happen. That's ridiculous.
No, it's just absolute pure insanity. So this is what ABC, George Snuffleupagus, this is the big thing. And this is what they think everybody's watching, is Georgie trying to give Trump the long swords. And he's not done with him yet.
Okay.
In your database comments, and a super PAC supporting John Kasich launched this ad against you.
On-the-job training for president does not work. Benghazi, beheadings, Paris. Our lives depend on a commander-in-chief with experience who understands the world.
Clear implication is that you don't. What's your response to that ad?
John Kasich is going nowhere. He was at the head of Lehman. He was one of the top people at Lehman when Lehman Lehman Brothers almost took down the world. He's going nowhere. Let him do his ads. Anybody that does an ad against me, it'll be hit by 10 times, and that's the story. And, you know, people would like to look, they want to do it because I'm leading. I mean, you just came out with a poll that says I'm leading, but everyone else is coming out with polls saying I'm leading because people are sick and tired of stupid and incompetent people leading our nation. We have incompetent people. When President Obama stands up and says ISIS is contained, and then a few hours later you have one horrible attack where hundreds of people are killed, and you have 300 people laying in the hospital, many of them dying. They'll be added to the list of the people killed, and we have no idea. And then he wants to take in people that have no documentation, no paperwork, no anything from Syria on the migration. People are going to come pouring in, and the number he wants is much higher than 10,000. I've heard it's 200,000. That's the real number he wants. I've even heard 250,000 people. We have a president that doesn't know what he's doing. We have a president, George, who is totally incompetent.
That number is all refugees, not from Syria. But finally,
Okay, good.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. By the way,
all refugees. I mean, we're
Kasich. It is official. Kasich does support refugee Syrians coming to America. He supports Obama's.
I don't think that's the case because Ohio is one of the states that have already said no.
Right. But
Kasich's campaign, not only his campaign, but his aides, his assistant, has come out and said we are definitely opposing Obama on this Syrian refugee thing. So that's what I heard. If you heard something different, it might be something new. But I actually saw that on TV. It was a Kasich aide that came out and said we're opposing Obama's push for bringing the terrorists in through the Trojan horse. But one thing, I want to back up real quick.
Go ahead.
I want to back up on the what Trump was saying there. The question was, how do you react to this whole thing about Kasich saying we need somebody with experience? So Kasich's argument is we need political experience. When he says experience, he's specifically talking about executive experience in politics. He's a governor, and so he has that experience behind him.
Right.
Trump immediately counters that with we need somebody with experience doing having success in whatever it is that they are leading. Trump is an executive in the private industry, whereas Kasich is an executive in the public industry, i.e. politics.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's funny. Kasich is accusing Trump of having no experience because he doesn't have executive experience in the public world.
Right.
Whereas Trump is like, well, first of all, I have more experience than everybody because it's in the private
sector.
And here's the big kicker. I have success, whereas Kasich has failure.
Yes.
So.
Well, okay, so I've got this. He was on Fox News Sunday, and John Kasich said he supports Barack Hussein his plan to admit at least 10,000 Syrian refugees to the U.S. over the next year. Quote, I support that. It's very important that we don't let anybody infiltrate who's part of a radical group.
Well, that is definitely opposite of what I was reported before.
Right, but America needs to be part of the solution.
Of what? Solution of what?
The final solution.
What is he talking about?
That's all he said, the solution. A part of the solution.
Name the problem. He needs to name the problem that he's trying to solve. You can't just say be a part of the solution. Is he trying to say that the problem is that refugees are trying to get out of Syria, so we need to be a part of the solution, which is to help them out? Is that what he's saying? Or is he saying that we need to be a part of the solution to the problem that terrorists are trying to infiltrate the U.S. in a Trojan horse, so we should prevent them from coming over? What is he talking about? That's just a dumb generalization that means nothing.
Well, I think he's going rogue. He's going a politician on everybody. He's for it, and he's against it.
I was before it before. He literally was against it before he was for it. What's the date on that?
If you Google John Kasich and Syrian refugees, you will get a boatload of stuff where he says, no. I won't do it.
Well, just for the record, in defense of Kasich, Ohio is one of the handful of states who have come out and said absolutely not. There's only 8 of them, I think, that have come out and said, yes, we need as many terrorists as possible in our country, so come into our state, and we will allow you to launch your attacks from our state. There's 8 of them that have done that. The rest of the states have not made statements yet for or against. So Ohio's one of the ones that have said no. If they said no from the governor's office, then Kasich is a no.
Right. So this was September 6th on NBC News.
September?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
he's come out a few months ago. This is all breaking news.
It's September.
So he was for it before he was against it.
Now he says, okay, we got 5 days ago.
He's saying no.
5 days ago, New York Times. That was by Bloomberg, by the way. 5 days ago by the New York Slime.
All right, well, let me make a SmithRadio.com statement.
Well, okay, Governor John Kasich of Ohio conceded Tuesday that he did not have the power to block the flow of Syrian refugees into his state. But he still urges President Obama to stop accepting them until the United States can ensure that terrorists are not making their way into the country.
So he's kind of sort of for it.
Quote, in the state, we don't have that authority, he said at a speech at National Press Club in Washington. We can only express our concerns.
What?
He said, I can't stop it. Obama's got me over all of a sudden, we're going to be on the beach. He's going to put his arm around. We're going to hold hand in hand.
All right. So okay, let's assume that he's 100% against it. All right. He's 100% against it. But we know that in September, he said that it's okay.
Yeah, he was good with it.
He's okay. So my statement, and you probably agree with me here, our stance here at Smith Radio is that for him to not know back in September that this was a possible crisis, that's a possible Trojan horse. How long ago did we state before the Paris attacks that this was a Trojan horse?
Oh, yeah.
For him not to know that shows such poor judgment and lack of imagination that I don't want him anywhere near the White House.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I mean, you're only talking September, October, 3 months ago, two months ago. This is mid-September. It was actually September 13th. I don't know where the 6th. The 6th was a poll that came out that said he was losing. So, but we all know that. So mid-September, we're mid-November. It's 2 months ago.
Oh, yeah, this was before Paris. Before the Paris attacks happened, only a minority of intelligent patriots were saying This looks exactly like a Trojan horse.
Now we all know it to be.
But the rest of the people, some people just didn't have an opinion, didn't even know what was going on. But there was a portion of both Republicans and Democrats who were like, oh, we need to help them. We need to help them. Look at them. They're fleeing death and destruction and the radical Islam. And I'm like, Trojan horse anybody?
Right.
And so, yeah.
Okay, so
we came out emphatically that it was a Trojan horse.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So according to the New York Slime, this is by the newspaper. They write, Mr. Kasich, who said in September that refugees should be accepted into the country, has changed his view after the Paris attacks on Friday. He said on Tuesday that concerns about being able to screen these refugees made it unsafe to accept them.
He should have known it was unsafe before the Paris attacks.
Quote, right now, until we can get a handle on where we are, we need to stop.
You know what that is? That is weak. Trump is dead on accurate. That is weak. That is so weak. We need strong leadership.
Yeah.
Carson, with how soft-spoken he is, at least he seems to know where to stand, and he will say it without wavering. Kasich comes out like a loudmouth, bloviating about how, well, we should kind of maybe think and we should be concerned. What? That's not strength. Saying that loudly just screams that you're a weakling.
Right. You're screaming to the world, hey, look at me. I'm weak.
Exactly.
That super PAC is not alone. Front page story in the Wall Street Journal yesterday talks about GOP operatives planning to launch a guerrilla campaign against Trump. They're saying the Republican establishment is increasingly alarmed by your enduring strength, and that they're going to have the first attempt to unite donors from rival camps into a single anti-Trump force. If that begins to happen, are you going to reconsider an independent run if they come after you to try to take you out?
Hold on. Let's talk about definitions here. A guerrilla campaign, it comes from guerrilla warfare.
Yes.
And guerrilla warfare is instead of sending in battleships and aircraft carriers and fighter jets and bombers and mechanized warfare, tanks and all that, guerrilla warfare is people, individuals, human beings, hiding behind trees.
Yeah.
And
or in the tree, up in the top of the tree.
Yeah, picking you off in the woods where there's
that's
cover.
how the revolution was won.
Right, guerrilla warfare. That and Vietnam, we couldn't beat the Vietnamese because they were engaging in a very effective guerrilla warfare campaign. So that's what guerrilla campaign means when you're talking about in politics, is at the grassroots individual level instead of the traditional route.
So what are you saying then?
What I'm saying is
that he's a monkey for saying what he just said?
Well, he's definitely a monkey for saying that. But what I'm saying is the guerrilla campaign is totally for the Trump.
Right.
Trump, Carson, the
that is the guerrilla campaign.
That is the being able to go into Saturday Night Live and come out with higher poll numbers.
Right.
You're going into the lion's den. I mean,
right.
All this stuff, the reason it's working for Trump is because it's at the guerrilla campaign level.
Right.
So who is going to launch a guerrilla campaign against Trump? It's not going to work.
Okay, the second fold of this question, though, for those of you who have maybe not kept up in the past, Trump had an issue with jumping ship and going independent. Back in the day.
Several months ago, right.
So what they're talking about is they're trying to see, and they think that's what they're trying to bring that back up to see if they can derail his voters. Oh, well, that's right. Thank you, Mr. Stephanopoulos, for reminding me that one time, way back in the day, he did go independent, and that's why he lost. Oh, you mean he could do it again? They're back
like in the 80s or something?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
And so that's why they keep bringing up
4 years ago when he ran, he was not independent, and he never went independent. So you must be talking about ancient history here.
Yeah. It's been back.
Okay, so let me try to paraphrase what you're saying in layman's terms. It sounds to me like the GOP establishment is going to try to convince people at the grassroots level that you're not supporting Trump because of Trump. You're supporting Trump because he's the front-runner Republican. But he's a turncoat. He's not going to stick with the party.
Right.
And you don't want somebody that's not going to be loyal to the party. You want somebody that is going to stick with the party no matter what. It's a complete disconnect from what's actually happening on the ground, which is that people are supporting Trump because of Trump, not because he's a Republican.
Right.
Because of what he's saying. There are Democrats that are supporting Trump. And they certainly aren't supporting him because he's a Republican.
And they're calling those the Reagan
Democrats. Oh my gosh,
they're bringing it back.
Oh my gosh, yeah, because
only he can get the Reagan Democrats.
This is a failure. This is going to fail before it even starts.
So you want to hear what Trump had to say about Stefan?
I love to hear what he has to say about that.
Well, we'll see what happens. It'll be very interesting, but I'm leading every poll by a lot. It's not even a little bit anymore. It's a lot. And I resonate with the people. I had 10,000 people yesterday. Every place I go, if I have crowds smaller than 10,000, it's like a small crowd for me. Nobody else can get 200. I mean, Jeb Bush and these guys, Kasich goes out, he speaks. If he gets 20 people in a room, it's a lot of people. Nobody else gets anybody. I get crowds, and you know it, you cover it. I get crowds of 6,000, 10,000, 20,000. I had a 35,000.
But you're open to an independent run?
Well, I'm going to have to see what happens. I will see what happens. I have to be treated fairly. You know, when I did this, I said I have to be treated fairly. If I'm treated fairly, I'm fine. All I want to do is a level playing field. And I think people are surprised that, you know, they're politicians and they've been doing this stuff all their lives. I haven't. I've been a job producer. I've done great, you know, things. I've done fabulous developments all over the world, and I've made a lot of money. The kind of thinking we need in office. That's the kind of thinking we need in Washington.
I mean, that's
why
it.
people like him.
Right.
I don't really get it. There's so many levels of not getting it here. I could try to describe it to you. I mean, what is the Republican establishment's fear of Donald Trump? I mean, he's leading in the polls.
That's funny you say that.
He's got a big grassroots following. There are Democrats, Reagan Democrats, I guess you could call them, that are supporting Trump that would probably vote for him, especially against like a Bernie Sanders. And the reason I say Bernie and not Hillary is because Hillary's only getting 3 or 4 people in a room, in a big ballroom, at her support. Nobody cares about her at all. It's like the Democrat establishment is pushing for her. Bernie Sanders is the one that's getting the 20 and 30,000 people at his rallies. So it's starting to look like, if you're just going by actual support on the ground, it looks like it's going to be a Trump versus Sanders thing. I don't know why the Republican, the RNC,
right?
Why they wouldn't say, well,
I got something for you. And this is just from listening to talk radio for over decades, last couple decades. Putting this together, there's a couple of talk show guys who actually have wrapped their head around certain things, and they go back to Barry Goldwater.
Okay, let's hear about that.
Back in '64, he was a presidential nominee for the Republican Party, and an establishment type of guy. And the establishment is we're in fear that he didn't win, and because he didn't win, they started to develop this ideology of what they will and will not do, who they will and will not support. And when Reagan came around, they didn't want it was a fluke. It was to the establishment.
He lost back in '76.
Yeah, he
lost.
Yeah, he
lost
the
primary. I think.
Yeah,
he lost the primary, and then went on to win the primary in '80.
Right, and so the establishment said, "Okay, that Reagan thing, speaking to the base, speaking to the people who support you, and being for something,
and being proud to support capitalism and the conservative values.
That thing, that's no good. This no go. Ooh, no. Okay, this is what works. We reach across the aisle. We work
we cave to the communists,
right?
At all
times.
We
work with them, and we have to reach out to get the black vote. We have to reach out to get the Hispanic vote. We have to reach out to get the female vote. And that's the establishment. When in all reality, in the real world that you and I out there at Radio Land live in, the real world, if you espouse these ideologies of the conservatism, the Reagan-esque ideologies, capitalism, freedom. You espouse those ideologies to the world and stand strong and do not waver whatsoever. Reagan was so famous for that, and they hated him. He never wavered. The GOP hated that. Never wavered, never bowed down, never cowed down, not to Russia, not to nobody. You hold strong on that, and guess what you get? You get black votes.
Yeah.
You get Mexican votes.
Yeah.
You get female votes, female black. You get votes.
You got to sell the ideology.
You don't run to the voter to get the voter. You espouse who you are, what you believe in, what you stand for, and you will not waver. They come to you.
Right. And it's a really tough acrobatic job for them to figure out how to gain power by selling that you're going to give it away, because that's what conservatism is. It's getting out of the way of the citizens so that they can build in a free market capitalist environment the greatness of America, the wealth, the business building, the job creation. All that is done by the individuals at the local level, small businesses, all that kind of stuff. And government, the bigger it is, the more micromanaging, the more central control and regulations and rules and whatnot is going to stifle that.
So he loses. Barry Goldwater loses to LBJ.
Yeah,
and so the establishment looks at the Democrats that are winning, and those are the new Democrat. Well, not the new Democrat, but they're the Democrat Party that's coming out loud and clear. We're going to give it away to the poor people. We're going to tax the rich. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Big government ideologies. And so Barry Goldwater loses, LBJ wins. The establishment's like, oh, well, if they're winning a lot, which they were at the time, if they're winning a lot because they're doing this, we need to get on the right page.
We need to do what they're doing.
And this thing with Reagan, folks, that was just an accident. It was a slip up. Don't worry. We got Bush Sr., who
was establishment is all get out.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
That's why they
get your tinfoil hat on. How about that assassination attempt on Reagan? That would have left Bush the elder right then and there taking over as the establishment Republican.
And how quickly? I mean, that was.
Oh, it was read my lips. No new. Oh yeah, his assassination.
Assassinations were early on, wasn't it?
Really early. In fact, the story I heard is that, I mean, he really did almost die. He went right into surgery and all that kind of stuff. When he survived that, he decided it wasn't until that assassination attempt that he decided, well, I guess there's nothing to lose now. Let's just go all out. And had there not been that assassination attempt, I don't really 100% buy into this narrative, but if it weren't for the assassination attempt, maybe wouldn't have gotten the Reagan that we ended up getting for 8 years.
So you're saying he had a come to Jesus meeting in the hospital.
Right, that and now it's like a free roll. It's like he wasn't supposed to be here, and now that he is, it's like, well, hey, there's nothing to lose now. Let's just go nuts. And he went all conservatism. But if you listen to his speeches from the 60s,
it's a phenomenal
from
speeches.
The 60s,
right.
You know that this was Reagan all along, so I don't really buy into that. So
March 30th, 1981, he was shot by John Hinckley Jr.
That's like literally 2 months.
69 days into his presidency.
Yeah, that's like he just got there.
69 days.
That's almost like William Henry Harrison. He died within 2 months of taking office of pneumonia.
Oh, okay.
Because his acceptance speech was in the driving rain. It was really cold, and they said he caught pneumonia.
Wow.
And like 60 or 90 days later, he was dead.
Well, if you think about, I mean, obviously hindsight's 2020, but if you look back and you see the 8 years that Reagan just pummeled the Democrat Party, just left and right, just wouldn't budge, and they hated him.
I was a little kid, and I remember thinking, what are these Democrats doing? Why do they even run? And I asked my dad, I said, do Democrats ever win? And I'm like, well...
Was that back when your dad was a Democrat?
Oh, he was voting for Dukakis.
Oh, Michael, I've lost my mind, but I got nice hair, Dukakis.
The
bushy eyebrows.
Jumped in the tank with the helmet. Looked like a bobblehead. You didn't hear about that?
No.
That was the thing that ruined his campaign. He got in the tank and was bobbling around in the tank with his head out of it, trying to show strength. Oh, yeah, that was bad.
Oh.
But my dad was a young union guy.
Oh,
It was all about the union. And when the union told him, you got to vote for Dukakis, all the union guys, they teamed up and voted for the Democrats.
I started typing in Dukakis' name, and the very first thing that pops up, Dukakis tank.
Yeah, of course. Of course, yeah. I think that sunk his campaign because he just looked so ridiculous. In fact, I think the stories I heard was that it made him look like he was playing with toys.
Oh, yeah, I saw the picture, and it
Look at me, I play with my tanks.
Yeah, it certainly does.
Right.
Amazing. So, all about this, Breitbart had an exclusive statement from Donald Trump. It said that we as Americans have an obligation to carry firearms.
Yeah, so if you're not armed right now, you are a traitor.
Turncoat, damn it. He said there are nearly 13 million concealed carry permits, or if you will, CCWs, in holders in the United States who are part of the 100 million gun owners who defended. I got Kasich on the brain.
Yes.
I got that picture in my head now.
Well, Kasich's definitely trying to defeat the Constitution.
Right. So the constitutional right to keep and bear arms, Trump explains that with the current rise in terror threats, more legitimately armed Americans on the streets is one of the best deterrents.
Yeah. Well, we saw that in Texas. Remember the Charlie Hebdo cartoon drawing contest, the Muhammad contest?
The guys who drove all the way from Arizona.
Like 1,000 miles from Arizona to Texas.
To kill Pamela Geller.
And probably a whole bunch of artists.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Got stopped by, it was a cop, I think, wasn't it?
Right.
But in Europe, the cops aren't even armed.
No, they
not all of Europe,
yeah.
but like I think in Great Britain, probably.
Right.
Probably France.
Oh no, the French they had to call in the French military.
Oh,
to get that. That's probably why that thing went down so long. Carrie, in Cincinnati, something goes down. How soon would the United States Marine Corps get to Cincinnati to a building?
Well, if they decided to send them, it would take a long time. Or, take a very short time. But the question is, how long would it take to decide to send them? But they could come really, really fast.
Right.
Our motto when we were in the Marines is anywhere in the world ready to fight within 24 hours.
Right.
Anywhere in the world, which is pretty remarkable because you're talking about a lot of support equipment and arms.
Logistics.
All the logistics. But yeah, 24 hours, we're ready to go.
That is amazing.
Anywhere. All the way on the other side of the world, 24 hours, we're ready to go.
So then maybe Hillary was wrong about Benghazi.
Well, 24 hours during Benghazi would have been an eternity. But that's maximum.
That's the maximum time. Yeah, because you did have air bases fairly close within a couple hours.
There was a guy painting a target currently during the attack.
Expecting air.
The only way that could have went down the way it did is if there was stand-down order, which we know was a fact.
Right. So here's what has got everybody all fired up about Trump this week during his the statement that he made about Paris, which we heard earlier, but this is the statement that he made.
When you look at Paris, the toughest gun laws in the world, Paris. Nobody had guns but the bad guys. Nobody had guns. And they were just shooting them one by one. And then they broke in and had a big shootout and ultimately killed the terrorists.
Days later.
And I'll tell you what, you can say what you want, but if they had guns, if our people had guns, if they were allowed to carry.
That's absolutely true.
It would have been a much, much different situation. I hear it all the time. You look at certain cities that have the highest violence, the highest problem with guns and shootings and killings. Chicago, as an example, toughest gun laws in the United States. Nothing but problems.
How is this even controversial?
They are. It's too soon. No, they're extremely angry at Trump for coming out and saying, "How dare you?" So, roll clip 2G. Gavin Newsome, Lieutenant Governor of California. It's not the governor.
Light governor.
The light governor.
Okay.
To the full-blown radical communist Jerry Brown, who is governor, who was...
Ohio. Is Brown from Ohio?
He's governor of California.
California.
Jerry Brown.
I know there's a Brown. Oh, Sherrod Brown is in Ohio. He's a total dip.
So Jerry Brown back in the 70s was governor. Got thrown out because he was so awful and so bad. And so they reelect him again in the 2000s.
Well, there's a sucker born every minute.
Yeah, they completely forgot about his past altogether.
They're like, oh, that's the same guy? No way.
Hey, Jerry, hey.
Like after the fact.
Yeah.
After he got reelected, then everybody's like, oh, crap. That's the same guy? Yes. I would have never guessed that the same guy was running.
The media kept it absolutely silent. And the media was rolling 24/7 everything about Schwarzenegger.
Right.
And the Hispanic maid and the boy that looks like him.
So name recognition is what it was. They were like, where have I seen this name before? He must be good.
Right.
That's literally how it happens.
The movie we talked about with Eddie Murphy in it.
Right.
Where he becomes politician.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
So, they're absolutely fuming. And Gavin Newsome, who is a nuisance, had this to say about about Trump and the NRA when talking with Real Time with Bill Maher, sat down with a one-on-one.
Let's talk about the gun one, because Democrats are afraid of the gun issue because Al Gore lost his own home state in 2000 of Tennessee when he came out sort of for some sort of gun control. Yeah. California has it. Donald Trump says if Paris had guns... I know.
This sort of mythology of the gun, a guy with a gun that's going to come save the day. Sort of
they
right
always
out of the
do.
Movies, sort of this gunslinging.
Hold on. Why do cops have guns? The guy with the gun comes to save the day.
Yeah, that's what cops do. If something's going down,
a bank getting robbed. The bank we were talking about out in California with the guys with the bulletproof vests and stuff.
Right? Yeah.
Who came to save the day?
Well, the cops.
Did they have guns?
Yes, they did. Yeah. They didn't even have big enough guns. They had to go back. I think the story I heard on that one was we're talking about the gigantic shootout in the mid-'90s in L.A., where a bunch of super heavily armed assailants robbed a bank, and then they just walked through the streets with AR-15s and whatever, just shooting up everything and shooting at cops and whatnot. The cops, the story I heard is that the cops were like, oh my gosh, we're outgunned here.
It was North Hollywood shootout.
Right. So they had to go to what I heard was a local military armory to get properly armed.
Yeah.
And then they were able to fire back on these people and move in and finally get the kill of everyone. Some of them never did get killed by the cops. They shot until they had one bullet left and then shot themselves in the head. Yeah, kill themselves.
You know, if you're going to go all out, there's only one way to do it.
You gotta
go all out.
If you're in the middle of that firefight and you're the assailant, and you already decide, well, I'm not going out, I'm going to kill myself. What if you accidentally shoot your last bullets? Then you're like, oh crap! Now I gotta suicide by cop, maybe.
Yeah.
Run at him with the gun waving at him.
Well, I was thinking that, but if you did that, they would realize quickly, oh, he's trying to pistol whip me. So
we got to shoot him.
You got to shoot him. Right. So you're definitely
Anyway.
going to go down. So is Newsome equating gun laws to I don't know.
In fantasy. The reality is it's most likely to create more harm, more damage, more lost lives.
No,
in those
absolutely not.
He's saying that arming people in Paris would have done more damage.
More than 129 dead.
More.
How?
And he explains how.
Really? So if you were in a restaurant and a crazy gunman came in, you wouldn't want to have a gun?
Well,
you'd rather just be shot?
Well, I would hope that the folks sitting next to me that haven't been trained, that don't respond well under stressful circumstances, don't get up and then start pointing the trigger or pointing a gun and shooting.
But hasn't
what kind of fantasy land is he living in?
I saw watching the video. He's like waving his hand in the air like the guy next to him at the
Doesn't
restaurant.
know how to aim.
No,
the guy who has a gun.
Right. He's never.
He's so hysterical. He starts doing 360s while firing indiscriminately while there's a gunman trying to shoot everybody.
So what happens is that this entire restaurant of 100 people, the gunman walks in, fires shots in the air, then the unqualified under pressure.
He's under a lot of pressure.
Falling down, if you will, the movie. Pulls his pistol out, and it happens to be a fully automatic Uzi.
Okay.
With a 5,000 round belt attached to it. And he swings in a circle around and round, so firing and firing.
He's twisting in a circle, 360-degree circle, while going up and down with his arms.
Correct.
At the same time.
Correct. Kills all children, all women, most of the men are all dead, and the terrorist that shot up in the air who never killed anybody, he lived, but he did take a bullet to the arm.
Yeah, because it would just be luck if the bullets that strike him actually hit something that kills him.
Right, so everybody
but all the innocent bystanders, they all got the fatal shot.
See, and that terrorist only had like a clip of 10 bullets because that was the maximum by law in that state.
Okay, let me throw this one at you, Brian. I'm going to throw this one at you. Let's say that actually happened. Let's say.
If it did, it would never be lived down, and it would be talked about for millennia.
Everybody would be like, was he part of the assailants? Like, what? He was an inside guy.
No, he was a Tea Party member.
Okay, so right. No, and he was a Tea Party member.
Right, with a trifold hat on.
Oh, it was a musket. It was a fully automatic musket with a barrel clip.
Right, and he was hitting people in the head.
He wasn't just shooting them; he was hitting them in the head with a bayonet. Right. There's a bayonet
because it's a 20-inch barrel with a 20-inch bayonet on the end.
No, it was a 5-foot-long musket.
Oh,
because they are that
right.
That long.
That's right. What was I thinking? 20-inch. I meant
don't know.
20 foot.
Okay. Well, let's just say that what you're saying is true, and that everybody in there died, except for the guy with the Uzi.
Right.
Or the fully automatic musket. It was a blunderbuss. That looks like a trumpet at the end of it.
Yeah.
Right. So let's say that that's true. How is that different than what happened in Russia, where some Muslim terrorists, took over a theater with 400 people in it, and instead of just going in there and surgically killing I think it was like 4 terrorists.
So how does Putin roll? How does Russia roll?
They gassed the entire theater and killed everybody inside.
How many attacks have there been since that?
Well, you know what? I don't think there have been very many at all. I think they're like, okay, this doesn't work in Russia. So there were 400 casualties.
Right.
They call that collateral damage.
Collateral.
But it saved everybody from then on. There have been no attacks there since.
Right, because, you see where France lost 130 in one round.
It could be more in the future.
Right, and Russia only lost 100.
No, 400.
Whoa!
There were four. They had the
Holy!
They were hostages. 400 hostages.
Oh.
And so they were trying to negotiate with them and said, you better come out. You better come out with your hands up or we're going to storm in. Now, here's the reality of it, or at least what has been reported. The gas that they gassed the building with was supposed to put everybody to sleep. And then they could go in and disarm and handcuff.
Because while I'm listening to this, I'm thinking,
why would they do that? Why would they do that?
It was supposed to put them to sleep, I thought.
It did. It put them to sleep. But just like when you go and get surgery and the anesthesiologist puts you to sleep, there's actually a risk that you would die from that because if just a little bit too much anesthesia is used, it could kill you.
Right.
So that's exactly what happened here. A little bit too much was used, and nobody woke up.
Wow.
They should disarm whoever it was that introduced the gas.
It was the same doctor, coincidentally, who was prescribing the tranquilizers for Michael Jackson.
It was that guy. It was that guy. Right, yes. But they didn't feel any pain. So the point I'm making is okay, fine, you got somebody who's hysterical, he's a nut, he's got very poor motor skills, and he doesn't have a handgun, he's got an Uzi with a giant, a fully automatic blunderbuss.
That's what it is, a fully automatic blunderbuss.
It doesn't shoot ball rounds, it shoots shotgun shells.
Shrapnel.
Right, bird shot, fully automatic, drum clip, and so he just blasts everybody into smithereens. That's gotta be somehow, and if you can make the argument that it worked for Russia when they gassed all the hostages and it ended up killing them, and they were like, well, you know what, in order to make an omelet
you gotta break some eggs.
Right. If it worked in that case, long-term, big picture, I'm for arming law-abiding citizens, even the ones that have poor motor skills and poor judgment when it comes to purchasing instead of buying like a handgun.
He purchases a blunderbuss.
Fully automatic. And, you got to get it.
And he carries that under his shirt.
Yeah, so Bill Maher is nuts. And Bill Maher actually, he's playing devil's advocate here. He's
doing
like,
a little bit.
Yeah.
Right, so here's the rest of that clip.
Worst thing already happened. A crazed madman who's bent on killing everyone. How could it get worse?
Yeah, it could get worse when you live in a country with 300+ million guns, in a country that the NRA is out there promoting guns for terrorists. Let me just repeat what I just said. As audacious as I said. They believe that everybody deserves a gun, including terrorists. From 2007 in this country, we've been trying to close a loophole that deny people that are on the no-fly zone in the United States the ability. Those are the folks that can't get on airplanes.
The terrorist watch list. Yeah.
Right. We already talked about that earlier in the show. If they're terrorists, they should be arrested for treason.
Correct.
Flat out. Or conspiracy. Maybe they don't even get all the way to the point of actually committing the terrorist act. You could get them, it happens all the time. The FBI agent sells a fake bomb to a would-be terrorist. He then goes and tries to deploy it, and then they come in and arrest him.
Oh, right.
That happens a lot. Some of which you don't even hear about. So, yeah, arrest those people for treason. But you can't say, well, you're not allowed to purchase a weapon to defend yourself because we have the Second Amendment, and you can't attack that. So in coming around full circle, what Bill Maher was talking about with and his guest, whatever his name was,
Lieutenant Governor.
Oh, the lieutenant. So the NRA and Tea Party people who support the Second Amendment want terrorists to be allowed to go purchase a gun at a gun store, and that they don't want to close that loophole. That's what the Stephanopoulos was trying to get Trump to put to nail down on, which was, yes, we do want to arm the terrorists. So Stephanopoulos was trying to get him to say that so that there could be an ad campaign one day that has a narrator saying Republicans like Trump want to arm the terrorists that are trying to kill you. And then, boom, they actually play the clip of Trump saying,
oh,
yes,
wow,
I do want to arm them.
So Gavin and Bill Maher, they know. They've come to the conclusion. They've solved the riddle. They know what has caused people to become terrorists.
Okay.
They have the answer, full blown.
What does the panel think of Bernie Sanders' statement that climate change is linked to the threat of terrorism? He's right. Absolutely. The Syrian war started partly because there was a horrible drought there that drove all the farmers into the city, and there was nothing for them to do.
There's nothing for them to do, so they cause war.
What's going to happen when Bangladesh is underwater?
Yeah.
There are going to be millions of
well, that's
people.
the other refugee crisis, right? 630-plus million people live in a coastline that are vulnerable to sea level rise. But, it's a good point. Close to 1 million people were displaced during that 4-year epic drought in Syria, northern Syria. And Assad didn't react to it, created conditions that sparked the civil war, ultimately created the...
Whoa. Did you hear what he just said?
Sparked civil war?
He just said that the civil war in Syria was due to the drought.
Okay.
It had nothing to do with Hillary and Obama funding the rebels. Hillary and Obama were sending hundreds of millions of dollars and ammunition and weapons and everything to the rebels to overthrow Assad in Syria.
What I was about to say was...
Sorry about that.
Oh, no. Yeah. I'm agreeing with you. And I'm going to bolster it by saying what I was about to ask was, are we to believe that were it not for this drought, that history would have been completely different? None of this would have happened. We'd have never had any kind of... ISIS takeover of that whole area or anything. This is all due to that drought. And we're going to make a completely fabricated leap of logic to say that this drought was caused by man, who is contributing to global warming, which, by the way, is in itself made up.
Correct. So
global warming,
wow.
The fact that the globe is warming is made up.
Right.
If it were true, we're also supposed to believe that it's caused by man, which is made up.
Okay.
And if all of that's true, it also caused the drought, which without which would have prevented all of this.
Okay, so the two made up hoax were to explain another made-up hoax. So it's all made up.
So a three-prong hoax?
Hoaxster. I lost my place on that sound clip, but I'm going to play it right about here and see if we can pick up where we left off.
Well, that's the other refugee crisis, right? 630-plus million people live in a coastline that are vulnerable to sea level rise. But, it's a good point. Close to 1 million people were displaced during that 4-year epic drought in Syria, northern Syria.
Epic.
And Assad didn't react to it, created conditions that sparked the civil war, ultimately created the instability where terrorists were able to take advantage of that and vulnerabilities. But it's certainly an accelerant. It's certainly something that the Pentagon has identified as, quote unquote, a threat multiplier. And it's something that's not unique to Syria as well. You've seen it in Nigeria. You've seen it certainly as part of the conversation around the Arab Spring, food price increases. It is a serious and significant issue. And that's why, again, these Paris talks are critical as it relates not just to climate, but also the broader conversation about national security.
It's not every day you see Bernie Sanders and the Joint Chiefs of Staff on the same
page on anything, yeah.
And again, California, I think, was the state that got the country better mileage standards, wasn't it? Because California decided that we would not accept cars that didn't have a certain level, and it's too big a market for Detroit not to make every car that way.
Decades before the federal government finally put themselves in a position to adopt similar strategy. Look, we have a low-carbon green growth strategy. We're committed to radically changing the way we produce and consume energy. We're the only large-scale cap-and-trade program in the United States. Our economy, again,
you do deals with Ontario and Quebec on
and
cap
we'll
and trade?
Partnerships in terms of the Western Hemisphere. And so, look, California we're in the how business. We're not just isolating an ideal.
We don't get the
implementing.
respect we deserve.
That's the bottom line.
Isn't it true? It's because the media is in New York. We don't get the respect. Right. The media is in New York. It's the greatest city in the world, and we don't get the respect we deserve.
Thank you.
Fuck yeah. Thank you, everybody.
So he said, Lieutenant Governor said, we don't get the GD respect. And I bleeped that out because I don't want to hear it.
Right.
Why would he say that?
Well,
it bothers me.
First of all, Hollywood runs the narrative in the other media. So you have your news media, which is completely centered around New York City, flat out.
Right.
I mean, you hear it on Rush Limbaugh explains it. Everybody gets their prep and their information from the New York Times.
Right.
That's the original source of all news worldwide.
Right.
Once the New York Times prints it, then people start to propagate what has been reported in the New York Times. So that's why when it comes to news media, it's always centered around New York City. And when it comes to the news media, sure, California doesn't get the respect, but neither does the entire flyover country. They do have they have some music media in California, but they also have Hollywood, right?
Hollyweird, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they get that part of the media. Who really doesn't get respect is entire flyover country.
Right. The heartland of America.
Yeah, they're treated like aliens.
Right. No, it's amazing. My wife was born and raised out in L.A. and living here in Cincinnati now and watching movies and even talking about movies from the past. She's like, wow, they really do like making fun of you people out here.
Oh, yeah.
I say, yeah, absolutely. It's shocking to her that seeing the culture of people out here, whether it be Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, or even from Missouri, St. Louis, that, just out Midwest, seeing the culture and the people. I'm at the grocery store and we're chit-chatting and BSing with some lady right next to us in line. That would never happen in L.A.
Really?
Ever. You don't, not at a restaurant waiting in line, not at a grocery store, not at a gas station. Don't you dare look at me in the eye. Don't you think about talking to me.
That is weird. That's like antisocial.
It is so bad. And I'm not even in a ritzy neighborhood. I'm like in a normal, just everyday, low neighborhood. And I have two little girls, 3 and 4. And I'm holding their hands. And I'm walking up to a lady at the grocery store who just finished putting her last bag of groceries in her car. And she's pushing her cart away. And I say, ma'am. And kids, I want the cart. Is that what you thought I wanted?
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah. See, I don't have anything. I'm sorry, I don't have anything. What runs away? I said, no, I want your cart. She's like, well, okay.
Oh, okay. Well, let me run away anyway, just in case.
Happened it happened to me multiple times to where I would actually intentionally look for somebody that was just finishing up with their cart to see if I could do it again. Every time.
That's weird. They're like, oh, crap. You're not supposed to talk to me.
You don't. And that was the strangest thing I found out there in L.A. You do not look anyone in the eye.
That's weird.
Ever.
If you look at somebody in the eye, what happens?
Stink eye. Pink eye. No, the whole notion that somebody's out to get you for something. And if you look at them in the eye, then that means you've given them the green light to even talk to you or sell you or get money from you.
Oh, that's a green light.
Right. Looking them in the eye. So you never look them in the eye.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad I'm not part of that culture.
No, not at all.
But if you look at, this is how Hollyweird does it to the flyover country or especially the South. What they'll do is they'll have a bad guy in the movie. All right. I'm not talking about an action movie. It could be somebody, maybe it's a movie about racism or something like that. The bad guy, let me put it to you this way. If they have a Southern accent, they're going to be portrayed as the really, really, really dumb person or a really, really, really bad guy.
Well, go back to Deliverance.
Yeah.
The movie Deliverance with Burt Reynolds
and that's
in
in
it.
the 70s. Right. Anybody who's normal, a good guy, or smart will never have a Southern accent in a movie. Never.
And they'll never be playing a banjo.
You're still on Deliverance.
Well, no, Deliverance. They call it the dueling banjos.
Mm-hmm.
It's an older guy and a younger kid.
Well, if you look at dueling banjos on YouTube, you'll get the video.
Right. And so it's these two, an older guy and a younger guy, and they're playing the banjo back and forth, and they're dueling. And, I mean, they're enjoying themselves playing music. However, Hollywood has portrayed that with actual man-on-man rape.
Right. Yeah.
So anytime Carrie and I are taking a trip to West Virginia, crossing the border into West Virginia, Carrie cracks open his phone and starts to play a song.
The Deliverance song. The dueling banjos.
The dueling banjos. And that was hysterical. And we were looking forward. We were like,
we were in the big mountains, trees everywhere, woods, and it was just huge mountains. And it really went well. It was a great soundtrack for that area.
My wife has somewhat of a small phobia, if you will, if you talk to her about it. She's getting over it. But walking through the woods.
Huh.
And doing it later on in the evening.
Oh, yeah.
If it starts
now that I'm older, it makes me nervous. But when we were kids, we were so blissfully ignorant. And maybe we should be more blissfully ignorant because as an adult, I walk through like Mount Airy Forest, and I'm thinking of, wow, there is nobody to hear me scream.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and don't get me wrong, I enjoy having some type of protection if you're out there in the woods, not necessarily from the hillbilly dude with a gun who wants to rape me, but if there's an animal who starts to charge, it's never happened, and all the times we've ever went out in the woods, I've never run into a problem with an animal.
Right. In Cincinnati, the only animal you're going to run into at Mount Airy Forest would be a deer.
Sheriff Pico train.
Is he an animal? No.
That's the only problem you run into. The cops.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's because they have a problem with people staying after dark and all that stuff.
Well, and then riffraff comes in. If you allow people to hang out in the park after dark.
Yeah, it's bad. Because
riff-raff.
I remember hanging out at the park after dark when I was a kid.
And
it was never good.
What were we doing?
It was never good.
I know what we were doing.
Usually involved a female and
what?
Whoa, e-brake.
E-brake. Wow.
Yeah. Well, when you're a kid, what are you gonna do?
It is what it is. Right.
Right.
So, right after the Paris attacks, Pamela Geller, who we wholly support in everything she does. Follow her on Facebook. It's incredible. Just the articles and the things. And she's relentless on Muslim, Islamic, radical, extreme, non-extreme, anything having to do with the Islamic culture. She is first and foremost in the front of it all. And so this week she wrote, blood still stains the streets of Paris. France is in a deep state of shock. It is a nation of walking wounded. A British survivor of the concert at Bataclan tells how ISIS terrorists tortured wounded victims by slitting their stomach with knives. Didn't hear that one, did you?
No, I didn't. That's news.
The media isn't reporting these gruesome details. They are over Paris. Not even a week has passed. And the New York Slime and the Associated Press and the rest of the elite herd are promoting and proselytizing for Islam. It chills the blood. 15 years and 27,000 deadly Islamic attacks after 9/11. 27,000 deadly attacks after 9/11. The New York Times is defending Islam from being hijacked by ISIS.
Yeah, that's not how. That's just no.
That's what they say. The New York Slimes is saying that ISIS is hijacking the religion of Islam.
I would argue, and I think I can make a good argument, that the religion of Islam there's a failed attempt to hijack Islam by peaceful people.
Right. It is the opposite. If you are a Muslim practicing Islam and you say, "Hey, I'm peaceful and it's okay, can't we all just get along?"
Those people are failing at hijacking
miserably
the religion. And now that Islam has been such a problem recently in the past 15 years, what I've noticed was that you start to hear, because people are doing reporting and getting more information out there, that Islam has been a major problem in the world for over 1,000 years.
Oh, yeah.
It was a big problem to the founders. There was the Tripoli stuff going on.
Barbary pirates.
Yeah,
who
pirates.
were Islamic Muslims that were pirates on ships that would continually attack all our cargo ships, steal and rob and plunder. And the Founding Fathers said, "Okay, well, we'll pay you ransom. Just back off." And what did they do? They didn't back off. So the Founding Fathers established what is always known until Obama: you never negotiate with terrorists, ever,
Right.
except Obama does.
Yeah, Muslims have been terrorists, and there have been terrorists
and terrorizing innocent human
the world for over 1,000 years. And I just found out recently that why this is not in the history books is kind of head scratching. Maybe it was because people didn't think it was this important. But the assassination, the Duke Ferdinand's assassination,
Archduke Ferdinand,
who was assassinated, and that assassination started World War I, was done by Ottoman citizens.
Ottoman Empire, right.
And that sparked World War I. And nobody is talking about that it was Islam murdering that caused World War I. So it's just this endless thing. It's an endless problem. And so it needs to be fought against at all times and not made you can't make excuses for the actions of Muslims, because it's just not a correct characterization of Islam to say that, well, it's just a one-off, or there's crazies in every religion. It is part of the religion to kill infidels. So
wow, yeah, Archduke Ferdinand. I was googling. Yeah, he's I was googling to see if he's Christian, and apparently he supported Christianity, but I don't know. I guess I'm stretching it. But
it's not about whether. Look, Archduke Ferdinand was not a Muslim.
Yeah, that's my.
He's an infidel.
Okay. Yeah, he's an infidel. And if you're not, and if you're not changing over, if you're not converting, then what do? You put people in cages and you dunk them in the water until they drown, and then you pull them back up. I mean, that's what Muslims do, and it's absolute insanity. So we've got this Syrian. Well, I want to say Syrian crisis. We've got this crisis of ISIS, Islamic Muslims wanting to espouse the new caliphate, which will take over the earth in their mind. And in order to, one way to do that is to terrorize the innocent people. Because if they went after like a military, like say the United States Air Force was at war with, I don't know, pick a country, German Air Force. Okay, you're battling military on military. And there are rules of engagement, if you will. And countries normally follow those rules, maybe stretch them or whatever. But there are rules of engagement. As a terrorist, you would absolutely lose if you went up against the American military. There's no question about it. So what do? You go after the easiest target there ever would be. Innocent, non-expecting citizens. Take them out and scare the living hell out of them so that they fear you, and you do it in such a way that governments, it's kind of hard to fight them because we don't know where they're coming from, but we got to be politically correct. Let them in. They're dying, whatever. You got to take a stance against these things. And I was doing a thought experiment this week, and I honestly believe that these socialists, these communists, these liberals, these Democrats worldwide, they know in order for them to gain absolute and utter and total control, they know one thing: scare the living crap out of the innocent citizens, the civilians. Scare them so much and so bad that they desperately beg for you to give them some kind of help and assistance.
Protection.
Which is protection. So what does Obama do? Literally allowing tens of thousands of Syrian migrants, if you will, strapping lads, young men, to come to America to terrorize Americans.
He pulls the Trojan horse in.
Right. He's like, pull this Trojan horse in. Well, I know they'll never get me. I'm the president, and I got my military here, so I'll kill them all. I don't care who they kill in America.
So you never let a crisis go to waste.
Right.
So in order to do the things to have the crisis, sometimes you got to make the crisis.
Right.
So by bringing the Trojan horse in and causing mass death and destruction by attacks,
right,
it gives him the opportunity to come up with the solution to the crisis.
The final solution, if you will.
Right. So then that, and what it'll always be, will be the kind of laws and programs and executive orders implemented that will allow him or give him the maximum amount of power possible.
Right. And he's got, I think, 260 days left. It's more over 250 days left in his presidency in America.
Because the presidency will go on to be of the world.
Somebody bar the doors. I mean, literally, it's all out and all open. This week, 6 men from Pakistan, actually 4 from Pakistan and 2 from Afghanistan, were busted illegally entering Arizona from the Mexican border with fake passports. Throngs of children crossing into Texas, hundreds and hundreds of children crossing into Texas from Mexico. Honduras arrested 5 Syrians headed to the U.S. with stolen passports. What do we know about the Syrians who did this massacre in Paris? How many were there? 8, maybe?
Just 8 of them. Well, more if you count the ones that were killed 2 days later or 3 days later.
Okay. But as far as we know, less than 10, whatever. We've got 5 here that could be funded, could be masterminded, could be the masterminds that set it up here in America. And Obama is solidly, staunchly digging in his heels saying, let's bring them all, because he wants the crisis. The more of a crisis he has here, the more likelihood he stays in power. Well, folks, we got an absolute crisis. We got a 9-alarm fire. I got to stay. I got to use executive order, and I got to stay as president because we can't afford Trump. Or I mean, we can't afford, the turnover in power right now because we're making America great, like Trump said. We've already done it. We don't need Trump. We don't need to make America great. America's already great. I made America great. So yeah, that's what he's doing. He's also trying to use executive order to keep illegal border crosser lawbreakers from Mexico in America. And this week, Michelle Malkin writes for Breitbart. She said, well, this should make the crap weasels in D.C. listen.
Crap weasels?
On Monday, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals told the immigration power grabbers in the Obama administration to stuff it. The amnesty sympathizers and the media mourned mightily. Quote, appeals court rules against Obama's plan to protect 5 million deportations. The Associated Press spun it. Court, again, blocks Obama's plan to protect undocumented migrants. And the left-wing UK Guardian decried President Obama's executive action to shield millions of undocumented immigrants from deportation suffered a legal setback on Monday, with an appeal to the Supreme Court now the administration's only option. It is absolutely despicable the way these people are rolling.
A legal setback?
Yeah, you don't know. It's just legal.
Now they're appealing to the Supreme Court, the administration's only option. So I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's one battle winning against a ton of losses, but I mean, I'll take one win versus none. You don't see anybody in the GOP establishment, none of the Republicans standing up to this tyrant, this tirade that he's gone on. Epic fail, by the way, this week by the White House. Introduces Twitter hashtag refugees welcome.
That is just terrible.
That's by the White House.
I mean, they're of fighting age. They look healthy. They need to fight for their own country. And it's as simple as that.
Well, but Kerry, they are fighting for their own country.
How?
By dominating and taking over our country.
Oh. I stand corrected. Because I'm thinking, okay, if they're legitimately refugees.
Right.
The only thing I can think of that we should do to help them would be do a Bay of Pigs-like thing. For those of you that don't know, back in the day when John F. Kennedy was president, there was, this big back-and-forth battle with Cuba. And in order, because they were communists, they still are communists. So what he decided to do was, well, let's train the Cuban refugees here in America to do a military operation. And we're going to use the Cuban refugees to do a amphibious landing in Cuba and just overthrow the government using their own people, their own refugees. And, of course, when they got there, they were like, oh, well, I don't know if I really want to do this. So the whole thing just dissipated, and it was a big, massive failure. And it was egg on the face of JFK. And it actually, the Bay of Pigs debacle really caused him trouble during the Cuban Missile Crisis because they were like, oh, boy, here we go with JFK dealing with Cuba again.
Awesome.
So it was a big problem. But the reason I bring that up is because that would be the only thing I can imagine supporting is, okay, if these guys are legitimately refugees and not part of a Trojan horse, then don't bring them into America. But, somewhere America needs to take them, train them, and then launch an attack against Syria with them.
Well, but the only problem with that is that they are launching an attack on Syria right now by trying to take over
Who's they?
And oust the Islamic Muslim ISIS people.
Oh, okay, yeah, they're trying to fight Assad, they would call it civil
Assad.
war,
because they want that entire area of the Middle East. They want it all to be theirs,
the Ottoman Empire again.
Right, bring it all back. So, and then speaking about Mexicans coming across the border, and the only reason why I had so many clips with Bill Maher this week is because I want to show you it as clearly as I can possibly show you in one show. He had literally touched on every single psychotic Democrat, socialist, communist agenda in one show. Touched on every single one of them, whether it be global warming, whether it be gun control, whether it be crisis.
All of them.
And then let's go for the trifecta.
And I've said this before on the show, but just to put things in perspective, I mean, Europe has to worry about people coming to their society and trying to destroy it. The people who come from Mexico don't want to destroy our society. They want to join it.
Right.
And they make great food and they enjoy sexy dancing.
Mexicans do?
All cultures are not alike. I'm sorry. Okay.
When I think of Mexicans, and Mexico, I mean, maybe I don't think of sexy dancing. What is he talking about? What culture is he talking about?
Would they have the... the wife's going to kill me. We used to go to this one club a lot, and they would do where they stomp their feet and they...
The flamenco dance?
Yes.
Is that Mexican, though? I mean, I know it's like a Latino type dance, but I don't know if it's specifically from Mexico, Mexican. I don't know.
Right. Well, here's the thing. He's claiming...
If your wife is listening, she's probably going to kill us.
Should be calling in right now.
She will blow us up. Okay.
But here's the thing, though. The thing that he's trying to say is that they want to come here to join us. If you have ever been anywhere south of the border, at the border, just a little bit north of the border, California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas... No, they don't want to join us.
They want to have Mexico in America.
Yes.
They put the Mexican flag on their house.
They do not want to join America.
I'm mostly German and a little bit Irish. I don't have either of those flags on my house.
Not only that.
Or hanging from the ceiling. And there's nothing wrong with that.
But I will not protest against
the American flag.
Yes.
Oh.
American flag, protest against American flag. And then...
You're not allowed to have the American flag at a school because it's offensive? That tells me a lot about them right there.
It's a major problem. And then all of a sudden, a kid was sent home on Cinco de Mayo because he came to school with an American flag T-shirt. And he was told that was offensive. You need to go change that.
Why are we even celebrating Cinco de Mayo?
Because Budweiser.
Budweiser's owned by a Mexican company.
Well, but Budweiser is...
Corona owns Budweiser.
Well, yeah, but Budweiser makes money off Cinco de Mayo because it's a fake holiday.
It's a drink holiday.
It's an alcohol holiday.
Let's get completely wasted.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a push.
Don't you think for 1 second that Mexicans drink Corona. They drink Budweiser.
There you go. All right.
Through and through. So for him to say such asinine statements like that just blows... I mean, I got blood shooting out of my eyes right now, and
sexy dancing and good food
wherever. And you're getting people. If you want to come to this country and join it, come to this country legally and join it, and then assimilate to our culture. You wouldn't go move to Italy and try and change the Italian culture to be something else. Why? If your culture and your economy, a third world economy, in the dumps, in the dirt, and it's absolutely pathetic because your government's corrupt and overrun by the mafia.
Don't bring that crap to us.
No, we don't want... You guys got the good stuff. You know why? Because we got capitalism. And you don't. You don't want it.
We do the things that work. That's why we're successful.
And we fought for it. You only deserve capitalism and a democracy if you fight for it and are willing to die for it. Americans did that for the last 200 plus years.
Yeah.
Yes. That's why we talk about it on this show all the time. And for Bill Maher, I know he's on HBO, but I'm sure kids still watch him.
I watched him all the time before when I had cable. If he was coming on, I watched him because, I mean, why do you think I do this show? I'm entertained by the controversial political topics.
Right.
So, yeah, I watched his show back when I had HBO.
Okay. So Bill Maher goes back at Lieutenant Governor to talk to him about... This is only one show on the 20th.
Sounds crazy.
Gavin, why do you support raising the minimum wage in California? That's a nice softball for you, pal.
I mean, look, we all know this. Economic growth's been a spectator sport for too many people. Wages are flat, salaries are flat, and
it's because of
communism. As you may know, I've got 18 small businesses, so I understand this issue. Yeah, and we have close to 1,000 employees. So the impact of the minimum wage, I understand deeply from the other perspective. And I can tell you, as a former mayor of a city that had the highest minimum wage in the United States, and I was intimating this earlier, the city has never done better economically.
What?
This notion that somehow raising the minimum wage is going to kill job growth and job creation is just simply untrue. It's factually incorrect.
You're lying. You're a liar. You're a liar.
I love how he says factually incorrect.
Based on what? The fact that you said it's factually...
I said it.
I said it, so it's real.
I said it.
That is so dumb. Everybody knows that if that were a law and you had to do... There's one of two things happens when you raise the minimum wage like that. Either A, it changes the landscape of small business, i.e., no more fast food restaurants, because you can't afford to pay your workers, or the price of the fast food goes so high that you have to close the business down due to lack of customers. Or inflation causes the $15 an hour minimum wage to not mean anything. For instance, if you earn less than $25,000 a year, that causes you to be impoverished, let's say. Let's say that's what poverty is, $25,000 a year or less. Okay? You raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, guarantee you need $50,000 a year, or else you're in poverty. Period. Right. Everything goes up.
Well, and
which means if $50,000 a year is poverty level, then $15 an hour is not going to be enough.
No. Well, not only that, but when they look at who actually makes minimum wage, the majority of them are kids living at home with their parents still.
Children will not be able to get jobs when they're 16 anymore.
No! Remember, we talked about this before.
They won't be able to do it. Nobody can afford to hire them.
When I was 16, I literally had the pick of the litter of any job at any time. I knew instantly I could quit a job right now and have another one tomorrow.
Yeah, because people are getting paid minimum wage, which was a lot lower. I think that minimum wages should be abolished in favor of a class in high school that teaches kids how to negotiate a salary or negotiate an hourly rate. If somebody says, yeah, we'll hire you $2 an hour, you should be able to say, well, wait a minute. I can make $5 an hour over here.
Right.
And you should say no to $2 an hour so that you can get $5 an hour from either that guy or the other guy down the street that's willing to hire you for that much.
Right.
Or maybe even $15 an hour. If you're worth $15 an hour, if your labor is worth that much, you can get that much. Period. You can get it somewhere else, or you can negotiate up to that from your current employer. But if you're getting paid $15 an hour and you don't earn it, then inflation happens.
Right. Well, he was the mayor of San Francisco. San Francisco.
Yeah. Which is, you have to earn that kind of money to live there.
The unemployment rate back in 2010, 2010 was 10%.
Okay.
And it's steadily fallen the last 5 years. They're claiming it's 4%.
Oh, that's completely fabrication. The reason that they're able to say 4% is because they no longer have to count the 90 million people who are no longer looking for a job.
Right.
They're not even looking for a job, so they're not even unemployed.
Right.
Because it's just a twisting of the label. Right. It's like saying 90% of the food at this grocery store is spoiled.
Right.
Well, if you look at the definition of food, it's something that's edible. Well, if it's spoiled, it's not edible. So now you could say that only 1% of the food at this grocery store is spoiled.
Right, exactly.
Even though there's muck everywhere that is formerly food. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, that is true, by the way. Wow. If food is something that's edible, then if it's spoiled, it's no longer food.
Correct. No, but you don't understand, Carrie. It's food. It's not like nobody would eat it though, but it is food.
But if it's not edible, it's not food.
Whoa.
Right. So we're not going to count that. So all the food in this grocery store is fresh, because all the other stuff that's spoiled is not food anymore because you can't eat it.
Wow.
Anyway, that's a nice little analogy there that we do on Smith Radio to help you, the listener, understand what's going on here.
So, oh my goodness.
Uh-oh, Brian found something.
He was elected in 2003, the mayor of San Francisco. Unemployment rate they're claiming in 2003 was 4%.
Which that was probably a lot more accurate.
It went to 10%.
And now that they're fudging the numbers, it's back down to 4.
Yes!
They had to cook the books.
Within
because that's what they do.
A 15-year span from 2003 to 2013.
People have steadily been
while he was mayor, unemployment rate soared. However, he claims, when I was mayor, we raised minimum wage the highest rate in all the nation, and we thrived.
No.
What?
No, they're
your unemployment rate went through the roof.
Yeah, it is, and it's currently through the roof. That 4% is probably more like 25%. So it went from 4% to 10%, and then continued to go up to 25%. But they were able to cook the books to make it look like 4%.
Right,
because spoiled food is not food.
Right, that is correct. Oh, so how do you find out what's the real unemployment rate? We've talked about this before. I'm not going to go all into it, but it's really difficult to get an honest to goodness answer. But they were saying the past 10 years, they're saying the real unemployment rate hit 17.5%. Oh my God, he got elected, and he sent the unemployment rate from 7% to 17%.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
And steadily hovers.
That's what communism does. Communism spreads poverty better than anything else that has ever been tried.
So something I was thinking about, Carrie, America became the great powerhouse that it is, and this global dominance, if you will, that we have, this presence that we have. What got us there?
Got us to being a world superpower?
Right. What got us there?
Free market capitalism?
So why in the Sam hell are they promoting, we're going to get us to the next level?
Next level?
With socialism, social programs. We got a conversation to have.
Okay.
We got to have a conversation. So what we've done, we've hit the pinnacle, and they're like, whoa. You were never supposed to get this big. Got to pull the brakes by lying about getting you higher. We're going to get you to the next level.
Well, I think where they're coming from with that language is that you have to put yourselves, if you've never been there, if you've never been a socialist, a liberal, a progressive, if you've never been one before, this might be kind of hard to do because you just don't know where they're coming from. But I've been there. All right, so I know. And what socialists, i.e. communists, i.e. progressives, i.e. all that stuff, all leftists, what they believe is that a socialist society is of a higher order than the down and dirty capitalist society.
Oh, right.
In that it's that we as humanity will evolve into a communist state, and they won't use the C word ever because of the McCarthy era and just the Soviet Union, the Cold War, all that stuff. It's such a toxic word, but it's actually the correct word. And if you want to use, instead of using communism, you can even use utopianism as more of a general term, because communism is only as old as Karl Marx. So go back to the mid 1800s. If you go back before that, communism wasn't even a word that would have been associated with the ideology of the philosophy of Karl Marx.
Okay, L.A., Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Los Angeles, the epic epicenter, the epicenter of socialism.
Okay.
Communism, whatever.
I would have put it
programs.
in San Francisco, but
I would too, but there was this news this week. L.A. City Council declares by a 4-0 vote shelter crisis in effort to help the homeless. Acknowledging the city's growing homeless population, their homeless is considered a population. The Los Angeles City Council voted 14-0 Tuesday to declare a shelter crisis, paving the way for federal dollars.
Oh.
You go to L.A., I am not lying. I saw this first day. Now I'm seeing it. It's even worse. People set up tents everywhere.
It's like a tent city.
Everywhere. Freeways, underpasses, overpasses. Everywhere there is space they will set up little encampments of tents, drugs, rape, violence, just awful stuff going down in there. And usually it's close to a center where they go get their money and their checks in the government welfare.
Yeah, because if it was just out in the middle of nowhere, the only way you'd survive is if you were able to harvest food or hunt.
Fend for yourself, right.
Well, yeah, I mean, go gather food. Right. That would be the only way to survive. So the way you're saying that they're doing it is that they have a resource from the government.
Right.
And that enables them to do what they're doing.
And call me heartless, but I had to learn a tough lesson myself. But if you hand a homeless man who's begging for money, if you hand him money by him begging, you are reinforcing the fact that what he is doing is working.
And that he can, it's sustainable, so he will remain homeless. As long as he's getting the resources he needs to survive. And I'm not saying that, well, the alternative is that he dies. Nobody's going to die. Human beings do not die from starvation in America because they're going to do what they need to do to get food. And if they don't need to go to work or to get shelter or whatever, then they won't need to if you keep handing them money. So don't do that. You are making it worse. It's like feeding the animals in the woods. The ranger tells you not to do that because then they start coming begging for food. It's like that bear in that.
Hey, boo boo.
No, not that bear. There's that meme with the bear sitting down like a human being at the. There's a picnic table, and he's waiting to be fed by the person in the cabin. You seen that one?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting meme.
That is hysterical. Yeah, to say that all these things that are going on right now, this is a compilation. All the stuff we talked about on this entire show today, all of this encompasses everything we do every week, which is to get the information, which is the same information. It's just different names have changed, different situations have changed, but it's all caused by the same thing. All of this, Obama's causing the terrorism. They funded the terrorists. They want the crisis. They want the socialism. They want the control. They want the power. They want the communism. They want that. They want all that to go to them. And for you to think for 1 second that no. What about the children? It's never going to happen. It's you playing on your harp strings. It's a nightmare is what it is.
Oh, anybody says, what about the children? Like what Kasich said. My gosh, it's so stupid. It's clearly just BS blown right up your butt.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost shameless to say that now.
No,
like,
it is.
I almost feel like saying, where is your dignity? That's what I...
When they say, what
about the children? I'd be like, oh, it's just ridiculous.
In Santa Monica, California, where the homeless rate is true to roof, in Santa Monica, you can receive 60 days hotel paid, like a no-tell motel, paid by the city of Santa Monica for up to 60 days. And then after that, you have to get out for 30 days, but then you can come back and reapply again for another 60 days. In Santa Monica, they passed a law saying that churches and nonprofit organizations are not allowed to have food, like provide food. Like your church does a food drive and you cook a hot meal and you have the homeless people come. No, you're not allowed to do that anymore because the government provides up to 5 hot meals a day in the city of Santa Monica. 5 hot meals a day. 5?
I don't even get 5 and I pay for my own food.
Santa Monica.
I might get obese if I ate.
Yes, you would. Yes, you would.
It's interesting. Rush points out all the time how there's so many extremely poor people who are on all kinds of government assistance and they're all overweight. It's kind of curious.
Well, and we've known people too who receive food stamps. There was a couple, I think it was a family of 4 receiving $700 a month in food assistance.
Yeah. I knew somebody that was getting close to $800.
Wow!
In food stamp type money, government money.
Food assistance. Mm-hmm. It's on a credit card now. They're not stamps anymore.
Oh, my brother, when he was working at the restaurant.
Oh, he's got stories.
He said that first of the month, man, you couldn't even get. And this is not a fast food place. It's not a low dollar place to get food. It's not a fancy restaurant.
It's not Outback, but it's kind of along those lines.
Yeah. It's
along
a
those
competitor,
lines.
yeah. So at first of the month, you can't even get in there. And you could buy alcohol on that stuff. You just swipe it like a credit card.
Right. Well, they give you cash assistance and food stamp assistance on the card. So the cash portion, you can go to a liquor store and buy liquor and cigarettes.
Unbelievable.
On the dime of the American
people.
And
who are we to say what they can and can't buy with that? They got to have their dignity.
Right. So when, as you point out, Rush this week said
they got to have the dignity of getting sloshed and sucked down cancer sticks.
They need to medicate themselves somehow. They're self-prescribing.
Right.
So Rush said, quote, "I'm telling you, Obama has become dangerous," declared Limbaugh on his national broadcast Wednesday. "Where do you think the modern-day 19 or 20-year-old terrorist comes from, Mr. President? We can't take the world here. There's no right to immigrate, or we just can't accept every human being suffering in this world in the United States. We can't. We cannot accept all the people suffering in the world. Can't bring them here to America." So Obama this week went to the Philippines on Wednesday, slamming Republicans who are pushing efforts.
Americans. He's slamming Americans overseas.
Yes. Americans, Republicans, and Americans.
Republicans are Americans.
Right.
Yeah,
who are pushing efforts to bar Syrian refugees from entering the U.S., calling their words offensive and insisting it needs to stop. Quote, apparently they're scared of widows and orphans coming to the United States
that is an outrage.
Of America as part of our tradition of compassion.
Well, if that's all he was bringing was the women and children, there wouldn't hardly be any refugees.
At first, they were worried about the press being too tough on them. During the debates. Now they're worried about 3-year-old orphans. That doesn't sound very tough to me. They're being playing on your fear in order to try to score political points or to advance their campaigns, and it's irresponsible. It's contrary to who we are, and it needs to stop because the world is watching.
Oh, the world is watching. When you hear that phrase, the world is watching, you're talking to a communist leftist.
Says Syrian refugees are no bigger threat to the U.S. than tourists.
What?
Not terrorist. Tourist.
It's a war against tourism.
Tourism. So we could be making more money in America through tourism if we bring the refugees here.
What?
They're tourists.
Oh, my God. Just put a camera around their neck. What are those big ones with the big lenses?
Right. So he claimed the tough-talking rhetoric of the GOP could be used as a recruitment tool by ISIS.
That really?
Yeah, that's
where he's going with it?
Yeah. He also indicated the American process for screening refugees for the U.S. entry is strict. Noting that the nation doesn't make good decisions based on hysteria. I don't know what that means.
He makes all the decisions during hysteria, so he needs to make as much hysteria as possible.
Right. So, guess what happened on Thursday?
I don't know. What happened?
The House went to vote.
Oh, yeah. I heard about this.
And passed the vote to stop. Well, it's a very more strict rules, and literally it helps to slow the waterfall to maybe a trickle. But you know how the GOP, you know how the House is.
I heard that it was veto-proof because a whole bunch of Democrats got on board, too, because they realized All right. Look. I hate America as much as the next person. But, man, I mean, we're just letting the fox right into the hen house. I mean, we already did it at the White House.
Right.
We gotta stop it with that.
Obama, we told you could be president, man, but we didn't know you were going to do all this.
I mean, come on.
42 Democrats defied Obama.
Of course.
That was the title, the headline of the article.
I'm really glad to see that because that's a little troubling that our own leadership is so hell-bent on destroying everybody, all American citizens, the country, everything. And so there's a little bit of faith in humanity restored with that, so we'll see how it goes. So is he going, even though it's veto-proof, will he still veto it?
Oh, of course. You know, he said, I'm going to veto it. He said, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, but the way politics works in America, which in my opinion is stupid, is you don't do something for no reason.
He can veto it, but when you say veto proof, he can still veto it, but it'll pass on through.
But what I'm saying is the way politics works in America is if you know it's veto proof, you just don't even bother because it's a waste of time. It's inefficient. We just would not even veto it.
And this man is efficient? Well, actually,
I stand corrected again.
Actually, I don't. Maybe he is efficient in turning the country into communism. I'm not sure.
Well, he's definitely, done a pretty good job with it.
So in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, where towering, beautiful, multi-billion-dollar skyscrapers overlook a completely trash-ridden city, living in gutters and sewers. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just night and day in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Obama went to speak to the world, and he vowed on Saturday that his country, my America, my country, will be a welcoming place for millions fleeing violence around the world, quote, as long as I'm president.
Which means what? Do I have to read between the lines?
I don't know how long. I don't know. Is he saying for a long time? What's he saying?
Well, we know that he would like to. Here's the thing: he's got that veto-proof law that opposes him.
Yeah.
It's got to be a big setback to his plans to just abolish the presidency because he's got to know now. Wow, you mean a veto-proof majority against me is possible? So him abolishing the presidency the way Hitler abolished the presidency when he took over as dictator in Germany.
And Hugo Chavez, he did the same thing. He used executive order to eliminate the presidency and become dictator.
So his dream to do that here in America, it's got to be big setback because now he's got to think, man, if I do something like that, there might be an uprising from just the Congress alone.
How do I get rid of them?
So he has to eliminate them next.
All opposition. Well, that's what Hitler did. All opposition, to kill. Did he kill like an entire party?
Well, I think more of Saddam Hussein. When he took power, the first thing he did was kill all the leadership.
Oh,
yeah, total
across the board.
Oh yeah, killed
board.
Almost everybody except for his most closest confidants.
Oh,
yeah, I saw a show back when Saddam Hussein, probably close to 2003, when we went to Iraq again. I saw a biography documentary on Saddam Hussein, and yeah, he was really ruthless, which was required. That was how he gained power, was that he just eliminated all opposition, and anybody who was left was like, whoa, you do not cross him.
Would you rather the people fear you or respect you?
I think that in his case,
it was fear.
Yeah, he figured, well, as long as they fear me, I think I'm okay.
100%.
Because the respect part would be okay too,
right.
But there's just not that assurance you get from everybody around you knowing that at any moment you can get murdered.
Yeah, you could get whacked off.
Right. And getting whacked off is definitely not as good as it sounds. So anyway, this is supposed to be a family show.
It always gets like this towards the end of the show, George. Yes, I wish my brother George was here.
Oh, man.
Wow. So just a week after the Paris attack, And ISIS and Islamic Muslims claim it again. The Mali hotel attack in Africa, just brutal. They were heard screaming. This is from people inside the hotel. This big giant hotel, high end Beverly Hills type hotel. Muslims running through the hotel screaming Allahu Akbar.
Oh boy, are we surprised by that?
No, shooting, and everybody keeps calling it. They were shooting Kalashnikovs.
Kalashnikovs, yeah.
But why do they call it that? Why don't they just say AK-47s?
The only thing I could think of is that maybe only in America we call it AK-47.
Because AK, a lot better than trying to say his name, Kalashnikov.
Yeah.
That's the whole.
That's what the K stands for in
Kalashnikov.
AK-47, the K means Kalashnikov. It's
Right.
the guy who invented it back. And 47 is the year he invented it.
So they were shooting everywhere and anywhere. They entered the hotel, started just shooting at random as much as they could. People running up and down and everywhere, going to the second floor, screaming Allahu Akbar, God is great in Arabic, before firing on the guards. Staff at the hotel, who gave his name as Tamba Darera, said over the phone that northern Mali, he said that all these that they were shooting all in the air over northern Mali. On Twitter, it was this militant group on Twitter said that it was behind the attack, but claimed that the claim could not be immediately verified. The group is led by the notorious one-eye jihadist. Dude, I had to put that in there. Because that's what they called it, the one-eyed jihadist, who gained recognition in 2013 for the attack on the Algerian gas plant that left 40 people dead, including 3 Americans. Oh, 1 American was killed in that hotel, and Hillary knew her.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Worked on her staff? Said Hillary mourned on Saturday the lone identified American Mali terrorist attack victim who she knew from her Senate days.
So this is clearly...
It sounds
Get
like...
your tinfoil hats on, people.
You know, it sounds like David Koresh all over again. Waco, Texas, anyone?
Well,
the Branch Davidian.
Right, but... well, are you saying that the government needed him dead?
Well,
I don't know the conspiracy theory behind David Koresh.
The conspiracy theory was that some of the people that worked for the government that she wanted dead, they put in that building when they set it fire. It wasn't supposed to catch fire until the government people that she wanted dead were in the building.
Okay.
I don't know. It's tinfoil hat stuff. Yeah, I just, I don't get it. I don't understand it. But these people are out for terror, if you will. They're all out, and they don't care who they kill. They want to terrorize them. They want to take control. Well, if you terrorize somebody, you do have control of them mentally. Mentally, you have control of them, and so that's what they want. And I've got a clip on her. She was giving a speech this week, a stump speech, and here's just a short montage of her stumping speech.
Our efforts will only succeed if the Arabs and Turks step up in a much bigger way. This is their fight, and they need to act like it. The bottom line is that we are in a contest of ideas against an ideology of hate, and we have to win. Let's be clear, though. Islam is not our adversary. Muslims are peaceful and tolerant people and have nothing whatsoever to do with terrorism.
So who are the terrorists?
The obsession in some quarters with a clash of civilization or repeating the specific words radical Islamic terrorism isn't just a distraction. It gives these criminals, these murderers, more standing than they deserve. We cannot allow terrorists to intimidate us into abandoning our values and our humanitarian obligations. Turning away orphans, applying a religious test, discriminating against Muslims, slamming the door on every Syrian refugee. That is just not who we are. We are better than that.
We do not have humanitarian obligations. Where's she coming up with this stuff? You just say it. It's written in our Constitution. We are obligated by law to make these terrorists.
Did you hear all the people? Did you hear all the people clapping?
I heard a lot of cameras clicking.
I don't get it. Because she's starting to deteriorate, and they want to get a picture of her before she disintegrates.
She's like the incredible shrinking woman.
If you look at her face, they had a close up of her, and she is just falling apart. There's a lot of rumors.
Yeah, I think the rumors are leaked by her and her campaign.
Oh, for love and consideration.
No.
Wow.
She's looking for a way out.
What?
She wants to bow out with dignity.
No.
I'll bet you.
What?
You watch. When she bows out of the race, it won't be because, well, my poll numbers just aren't good enough, and we decided to suspend our campaign because it doesn't look like we're going to win. No, it's going to be, we've had to get out for health reasons. Hillary admitted herself into the hospital to be treated for blank, whatever. You fill in the blank.
They've been saying things like that.
Yeah. It's going to be her out. It's so she can bow out with dignity and not say that she lost.
Right. Okay.
And that way she can run in 2024 when she's 99 years old. Just FYI. Just keep your eyes open for that.
So here's just a little bit more insanity on the mess that she has caused in all of the Middle East. She has all this Middle East thing when she was, Secretary of State. She has helped Obama to cause the entire ISIS uprising crisis that we have at hand right now.
Our goal is not to deter or contain ISIS, but to defeat and destroy ISIS. A more effective coalition air campaign is necessary, but not sufficient. And we should be honest about the fact that to be successful, airstrikes will have to be combined with ground forces actually taking back more territory from ISIS. We should also work with the coalition and the neighbors to impose no-fly zones that will stop Assad from slaughtering civilians and the opposition from the air.
Okay, she's saying stop Assad.
Assad.
Who's propping up Assad right now?
Russia.
Yes.
So that's weird.
Forces on the ground with material support from the coalition could then help create safe areas where Syrians could remain in the country rather than fleeing toward Europe. This combined approach would help enable the opposition to retake the remaining stretch of the Turkish border from ISIS, choking off its supply lines. There is an important role for Russia to help in resolving the conflict in Syria. And we have indicated a willingness to work with them toward an outcome that preserves
Putin's
Syria as a unitary, non-sectarian state with protections for the rights of all Syrians and to keep key state institutions intact. There is no alternative to a political transition that allows Syrians to end Assad's rule, because ultimately our efforts will only succeed if the Arabs and Turks step up in a much bigger way.
I'm done with it.
I know. I'm just,
It was almost over anyway. So she's saying, she's speaking like this on purpose. She has no idea what she's saying because she completely destroyed all of Libya. Libya is currently in a civil war because of her for overthrowing a government and then leaving. She's now talking about overthrowing another government, Syria. She left the last government she overthrew. What makes you think she's going to leave this one?
Here's the thing. As far as I'm concerned, and I think a lot of liberals have been saying this for years, that, Saddam Hussein should have been left in power because he was the ruthless power that was holding Islam at bay because it was a little bit more secular.
Even Trump says it.
Right,
Trump says that now.
Oh, yeah, of course. So it's not just, but I'm saying that historically, as a trash Bush campaign, it was all about you should have left Saddam in power for that reason. And in hindsight, yeah, that sounds about right, even though it was absolutely justified.
If we knew that the next president was going to remove all the troops and cause ISIS, yes, I would have never removed Saddam.
But I'm for a constitutional amendment requiring us to take over a country and make it a united state if we ever go to war with a country. I think it should be a requirement that we go until there's a full surrender and government is instituted that would make it a U.S. territory, period. That way, I'm not saying that we would be an imperial power. What I'm saying is everybody in the world would know that we could only go to war if we do that. So if we threaten to go to war, they would have to take it more seriously. But anyway, I digress. So, so Russia is propping up Assad,
correct?
Who would be a little bit more of that kind of Saddam Hussein type,
correct?
Against ISIS,
correct?
So any attempt to say that we need Assad's a murderous regime and we need to do something about him is distracting from the fact that we have ISIS here,
right?
And that we need to deal with ISIS.
Okay, so
Putin's got to be losing his mind. Like, whoa, dude. First of all, cool with Assad, whatever. Yeah. But we have an ISIS problem here.
Yeah, Putin clearly has an objective and a goal. He is very, very upset with ISIS.
Yeah, right.
And the whole cutting off heads and terrorizing.
Right.
And no good. No good. Getting too much attention over there, people. Got to get rid of you.
Okay.
So we're done with you. Whoa, America, what are you doing?
He's got to be like, what on God's earth are you doing?
I am involved in a military operation here. Step aside.
And how are you not on board with what I'm doing?
I got this.
Right. How are you opposing me attacking your enemy?
Oh, because Obama and Hillary have been funding the rebels to overthrow Assad for the last 8 years.
You mean ISIS?
Right.
We find out was ISIS. So, yeah.
Well, where did all those new Hiluxes go?
ISIS.
What
about all the Humvees?
ISIS.
It just
when he walked out of Iraq, ISIS walked in, and all the Muslims in Iraq who were supposed to protect Iraq said, "Whoa, I didn't sign up for this. I'm out." So all our Humvees, all our tanks, all our weapons, all our munitions, all our secret stuff, they got it all.
You know, watching them drive around, ISIS drive around in the whatever country it is in the Middle East in Humvees,
right,
is equivalent to watching the football team that you hate the most playing football with the jerseys of your favorite team.
Oh,
and playing on behalf of their team, just wearing your jerseys. Like, ha ha.
Oh, man, that's so awful.
Yeah, that's just terrible.
Wow. So yeah, she gives this stump speech, if you will, to sound presidential
and to apparently belittle Putin. Like, well,
he's on board.
Little brother over here. We might throw you a scrap.
Do you realize nobody's listening to this hag?
We'll find something for you little guys to do over there in Russia. We'll find something. Wow,
dude, I wouldn't want to mess with that guy. Seriously.
I
let
think
Russia
we should try to get him on our side.
Let Russia. Yeah, and here's how you do
it. We did it in World War II.
Here's how you do it. You let Russia do what they want in the Middle East.
Okay. Especially if it is in our national security interests.
Right.
It's like during World War II, Soviet Union, present-day Russia,
right,
was fighting against the Nazis.
Right.
Who would we have said, would FDR have said, well, we shouldn't be going again. We shouldn't be. We should oppose Soviet Union attacking Germany.
Right.
Just doesn't make any sense.
No.
Doesn't make any sense at all.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
Utter insanity. And we give it to you straight here at Smith Radio. We are all over the place for you, literally. We've done all the legwork. We've listened to all the knuckleheads and the talk show people.
Ooh, we're out of time.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Jared Subway got 15 and a half years for trying doing relations with underage prostitutes.
$1.4 million that he paid out, $100,000 per victim.
They said he was crying at the sentencing.
14 victims. Yeah.
Charlie Sheen has AIDS.
Of course he does.
It should be the title of this show.
It was. Well, it was.
We did mention it.
Yes, we did. Well, the reason why he came out with AIDS is because he was going to get blackmailed by it.
Oh, I thought that Charlie Sheen then might have got it from Jared or something. I don't know.
David Copperfield playing with magic.
Oh.
Good night now, folks. Good night.
Good night.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.